What is going down, everybody? Welcome back once again to another spoiler-filled edition of Am I Still on the Air? It has been a hot minute, guys. We have not done this since June. It has been over 4 months, and we have been watching these films and not getting together to talk to you guys in full spoiler glory about the new hotness that has dropped. So a new Marvel movie has come, so we had to assemble the team once again. I don't know how many of you are going to care looking at the box office, but we're going to talk about that. But today we are here to talk the Marvels and all of its spoiler-filled glory. And of course, I don't ever come alone, and I'm with my boys Peeps and Frigginz. What's going down, guys?
Yo, yo.
I am excited to just hate on this movie. I'm representing the internet. Frigginz is representing femininity, so we're taking different takes on it.
And before we started, we were doing a little montage of training on how to go from one to the other to the other to the other.
No, dude, I'm excited.
Audio issue where every time somebody talks, it's the other person's voice.
Swaps.
It's all over.
Let's see what you did there.
There we go. And once again, this is your warning. Spoilers, guys. We're going to be talking about this movie, the things we liked, the things we didn't like, and just overall thoughts, So I don't want anybody who hasn't seen the film, and there's a lot of you out there that haven't seen this film, and we don't want you to get spoiled, in case you are maybe interested, or maybe after watching this, you become interested and you would like to check it out. So just letting you know that there will be spoilers. We're going to talk about this film. But man, I'm happy to be back. Like I said, June was the last one. We did a real big episode back in June where we talked like Spider-Verse and we talked Transformers and we talked The Flash all in that one episode. And then we haven't returned since then. We were going to do one for Blue Beetle when it came out in August, and then it just kind of went by the wayside when you get a chance to talk about it, which I really enjoyed Blue Beetle. So just kind of on that note, it was kind of interesting to see DC come out with something. I know Peeps just recently checked out Blue Beetle and enjoyed it more than you thought, right?
I liked it. Yeah, it was fun.
See,
it was actually on HBO like just a minute ago. Like when I turned the TV on, I was like, "Why do I recognize this?" And it's like, "Oh, it's on HBO." So if you haven't seen it, just check it out on HBO.
Yep, yeah, it just hit Max this weekend, so brand new on the streamers there. So make sure you check that out. Once again, you got DONMEGA over here. We got Peeps over here. We got Frigginz over here. All the socials there scrolling at the bottom. And again, we welcome you to our Am I Still in the Air? So let's jump on in. Let's get her going, man. It is Marvel. It is the 33rd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Kind of crazy. But we finally have the Marvels. This is only the second and actual final Marvel movie of 2023. We had it's the third. We did have Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania back in February.
That was
and then
thing.
we had
easily forgettable.
Then we had Guardians 3 back in May, and then the Marvels originally was supposed to be out in July, and then they pushed it back to this November date. So it had been a gap. We had a nice little gap over there over the summer from when Guardians came out to this one dropping. And this one here, the quote unquote kind of sequel to Captain Marvel, but also bringing in other characters. Of course, Samuel Jackson is back as Nick Fury. We have Kamala Khan popping up in this one, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau popping up as well from WandaVision. Of course, she made her young debut, played by another actress in the original Captain Marvel movie, but that movie takes place in the 90s. So in this film, we've jumped forward, and she's grown up. She works on Saber with Nick Fury, and she's got her own powers. But you would have had to seen WandaVision to understand that one, and that's kind of where I want to start, man. Like, it's just kind of like the homework to this film. Do we feel like this is why maybe it could have hurt the overall film from a public, perception? Because yes, you have three main characters. Number one, three female leads, which for some reason seems to throw a lot of people off when we have all females,
Right.
even though these are three awesome females that are leading this thing. But
awesome.
it's a sequel to Captain Marvel. It is a follow-up to the Miss Marvel Disney Plus television show, which, only had a decent size kind of participation there on that show. And then, like I said, WandaVision, where you really got the backstory here of Monica and what she's up to, and kind of the strain with her relationship with Captain Marvel, and how she got her powers, right? So you have kind of a sequel to all three of those characters' individual things, and a lot of people that are casual Marvel film lovers, they watch the movies. They don't really watch a lot of the Disney Plus shows. And I think this was like one of the big problems we talked about with Multiverse of Madness, right? If you didn't watch that, you're kind of like, what the hell's going on with Wanda? Like, why is she evil all of a sudden? Why is she all super powerful? Like, you missed all of that, right? You went literally from Endgame, where she's, kick ass and almost destroys Thanos and is mourning, Tony Stark's death, to the very next time you see her in a film, she's Doctor Strange's nemesis, and it could be jarring. It could be very jarring if you hadn't seen the show. I felt Marvel up to that point, I felt always did a pretty good job with being able to get into a movie or a show without having to do a lot of homework. They were always good entry points. And Multiverse of Madness was the first movie I felt like if you didn't watch WandaVision, you were probably pretty screwed. Not that you couldn't just jump in and watch it, but you're not going to understand who these kids are and why does she want these kids and where did she get these powers and why is she evil. There was a lot of unanswered questions if you just jumped into that movie and hadn't seen WandaVision. And then they've done pretty good kind of going back again to the well of like, okay, good entry points. And then this movie comes up. And again, I feel like, yes, you could jump in, but man, you would appreciate, I think, this movie so much more if you have the backstories to Kamala, if you have Monica's backstory, and obviously, most people know Carol's. So that's kind of the first question. I want to go around before we get into overall thoughts on this movie. Just what do you guys think from the homework perspective? Do you feel like this is something that could have become too daunting on maybe some casual film goers, and that's why they didn't jump in because they're like, I don't know some of these characters, or just kind of what do you think about the state of that? Frigginz, I'll start with you.
Well, I actually think that I may have a very differing opinion. I'm kind of interested to see what Peeps is, but you, how about you go first, Peeps? Because I feel like I'm just about to shake it up.
Sure. Well, I'll say this. I think it is, yes, DX. Obviously, it's definitely difficult to expect 100% of your audience is going to have done the homework that we do and enjoy the homework that we do. I mean, people have been getting kind of burnt out of these things for a while, and for that to expect people to subscribe to a service to be able to watch these shows and watch them, and they don't release these shows the way that people like it. They do it episodically, which people hate nowadays. I don't get, but I love it. But a lot of folks don't like that. So a couple negatives there, but yeah. And I don't understand why they don't do the thing that they used to do, like in the 90s. Like, remember, like on the sequel, they would do the whole, like the beginning of the movie would be nothing but flashbacks and catch-ups just to get you all ready for it. I
forgot about that.
They could do something like that just to make sure you're ready for it. But
that's the Legend show on Disney Plus. That's there to get you all caught up.
Exactly. Yeah. There's resources.
I mean, in the beginning of every Loki episode, but whatever. But my thing is this: for a show or a movie, you need to do research. So you have to technically be, I mean, I would say probably diehard at that point, to have to watch, what was it? You said 2 different shows, right? To really get
WandaVision and Miss Marvel.
Watch both shows. WandaVision was 4 years ago, or about 3 years ago. And then the Miss Marvel was last year. And then we get this one, and I still don't even feel that like this is really a good continuation from those, because all those really did was just, I don't know. It's hard for me to say, like, yes, obviously it's a continuation and watching those shows would help you with the movie, but it's not like those shows were really like leading it wasn't like WandaVision was to Multiverse of Madness. I feel like you had to watch WandaVision to really get Multiverse of Madness, but like I did like a 30-minute This Is Who with my kids, and I showed him the scene where Monica got her powers, and I showed him the scene where, a couple scenes with Kamala and her getting her power, and they were good. So I don't know. I think definitely DX. I think you're right. This movie coming out, and for anybody to look at the poster, like my mom or anyone, and be like, who are these ladies? I know one of the ladies, and it really wasn't that much of a continuation, I don't feel like, from like Captain Marvel that much. It was very loosely connected to Captain Marvel, but we'll talk about that more later.
All right. Well,
Well, it's hard. It's hard to connect to Captain Marvel just because of that gap, right? Because Captain Marvel was in the 90s, and so much has supposedly happened, in the last 30 years.
But like Secret Invasion was supposed to connect it, and it was at the end of WandaVision. Didn't like a scroll go and talk to Monica? Like, what was that about? Who knows? I don't know.
Well, she brought her to space. That's where she was.
I'm sure
she was working with Nick on the space station. That's an easy one. Come on.
I don't know. I mean,
she said Nick wants to see you up there.
Well, before we start breaking down the movie, I wanted to chime in about the the comments about the homework and all that stuff. And honestly, guys, I'm going to completely disagree with you guys in this concept, because I feel like it's not necessarily homework. I feel like this is just watching Marvel stuff. Marvel has become such a part of our culture almost that any movie goer has going out to watch MCU stuff. And I think that that's bled into the Disney Plus things, because again, Disney and Star Wars and Marvel and all these things are all just a big part of our culture. It's in the zeitgeist. So we're going to have people just watching these anyway, just to watch them. Think about this. Like, this is the 33rd movie. There's been almost no problem with most individuals being able to watch each consecutive movie from one to another, kind of getting to this point. And this is not the first time that we've heard complaints about a film and how the franchise is quote unquote dying or whatever. This has been an ongoing problem for the last year, 2 years, whatever it is. So my thought process with this is, no, it's not failing because it requires homework. It's not failing because it has female leads. Look at Wonder Woman and how well that did. I think the problem is the story in and of itself. And watching that trailer instantly tells you whether, for many people that they were not interested in it. And I don't think it's only, yes, there are scumbags that are just like, it's because the females, blah, 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 it's woke or whatever whatever dumb crap people say about that kind of thing. But no, I think it's more than that. For someone who loves movies, loves MCU, like myself, seeing that trailer, it was boring. And it was not interesting. It was not enticing. And I think that that's really what the key aspect is that they have been losing a lot of like the overall structure that they had before, I guess you can say, or the appeal for the characters that they're choosing to focus on, and they're having an overload. Maybe that might be part of it. In fact, so it's not that maybe people are not doing the homework, but maybe there's just so much of it that it's kind of getting less and less interesting. So I don't necessarily think that those are the aspects of it. I just think that there's essentially two categories of Marvel viewers in my mind. I mean, the third category, I guess, would be someone who doesn't watch Marvel movies, right? But of those that watch, there's the people that are super into it, are going to watch every single thing, whether that's the movies and the TV shows, and they want to know all the information. Maybe even watching videos of them like explaining the details, or the Legends show that you mentioned, Don. And then the second would be those that just are going to watch a movie. Like I've talked to so many people who are just like, I love the Marvel movies. And I'm like, oh yeah, who's your favorite character? I don't even have a favorite character. I just like to go watch them. I turn my brain off. They don't even remember what they're about. So like, I think that it comes down to more of a lackluster appeal to what was presented in the trailer. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. That's why we come here, right?
So, but the appeal will come
from magic.
But the appeal would come from the product, right?
Well, I'm saying, but you got to entice you to go to the product, right? And when you watch that trailer, it's instantly was like, ooh, this doesn't look interesting. It's not for me. Or
Yeah, but
I
that's
feel
your
like
but that's your opinion. That's your opinion
yeah,
though, because
and
because I
I
feel
thought
like
the trailer was excellent and
the
looked like a
trailer
ton of fun.
the trailer did. I think it it said what the movie was about. It had the same energy that the movie was giving. Like I don't think
Yeah.
that you know what I mean. Like it sounds like you're saying like fluff it up to make it look better than what it actually is.
what I'm saying is the story was so lackluster that the trailer just wasn't interesting because
Right.
the movie's
So
not
it's the
interesting.
product. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. I thought you were referring to something else. But yeah, I mean, like when you see that trailer, I'm not the only one that feels that way. Apparently, there's like a billion people who didn't go watch this movie that normally watch the Marvel movies. So I'm not the only one. And
You
I did
watched
go
it,
watch
yeah.
it. I did go watch it. So,
But you weren't
but
happy about it, Fred.
it's true. It's true.
Hey, and I saw your review. You didn't hate it either, so
I
let's not
didn't.
let's not let's
But
not go make it seem like we're just hating here
hey, we're just
because
talking about
there's
getting
more
people in
to
the
it than
seats
that.
right now.
Yes, yes.
And
I
the
think
thing is,
that's another conversation I think we're gonna have a little bit later when we talk box office because it's more than just this movie, man. We can go
yeah,
back to several films that have all underperformed in the last year. So it's just whether you want to call it superhero fatigue or whatever you want to call it, like there's a bigger thing here and other factors that play into it more than just the trailer didn't look good. Because I love the trailer. I thought when that trailer hit, it looked like so much fun. We had the Beastie Boys song. I was jamming. I was ready. I was like, this looks great, right? And we had three big heroes. The
yeah,
body swapping stuff I thought was cool as hell with the powers. Like it's
yeah.
set up to look like a fun movie, and that's what I wanted out of it, right? So let's just go into overall thoughts. So we're heading into the theater. We're going to watch this thing. Some of us reluctantly, I guess, and then but we're waiting to see how this turns out. And so as we always do, kind of where was your expectation? Where was your head at going in? And where was it at coming out? So, Peeps, we'll start with you. Let's roll.
When I first heard about this movie, man, years ago, pre-COVID, yeah, man, I was definitely stoked about it. Like just the Marvels, I knew that we were going to have a Kamala, we were going to have I don't think I had Monica in mind, but I was really in my mind, I was thinking, and you'll probably hear me mention this a couple times, but Blue Marvel, a character that from the groups that I'm involved in, a lot of folks are actually really excited to see the Blue Marvel come to screen. And and I'll say this too, and I'll throw this out there. I was kind of hoping, and I didn't want to put any bad mojo out there and say it, but in the back of my mind, I was like, Marvel Girl, maybe, but that didn't happen either. So I don't know. I was definitely stoked about this, but at the same time, I remember not being that excited about the Captain Marvel movie. And those of you that have listened to my show, The People's Forum, I am not a big fan of Captain Marvel, the comic book character, Captain Marvel. And I think that character has a lot of issues. And then with there being a movie about her, I was like, but Marvel's, it's not just her movie, there's other people. So I was excited. Then I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh, that's like a very unique, interesting thing. I wanted to see how that pans out and what's to go in the future, or where this is going to lead us in the future. So I mean, I would say I was just like moderately excited. I was just like, yeah, let's see what happens. I'm not going to get my hopes up because I've been hurt before. So yeah.
Well, and then walking out. Hold on.
Oh, now I walked out. I was like, Frigginz, let's talk about this movie. And he walked away with his middle finger in the air. I got no conversations with Frigginz after the movie. I was so sad. No, but after the movie, honestly, I felt very much like a little bit and then up and down, but it slightly exceeded my expectations. There's moments where myself and Frigginz were kind of cracking up in the theater at the random jokes that were thrown there. Yeah. So yeah, I liked it. Something I'm sure, a couple things that we're going to be talking about, I'm sure later on that happened. And I don't know if I left the theater excited about that, But like, to be honest, the 3 words that I shared with Frigginz, or the 3 things that we shared talking, was just about that end credits scene. So you know what I mean? Like, it's very much that Venom 2 Carnage vibe. We're like, we're sat there. I'm not saying the movie was bad, but we sat through a bad movie. But when that movie ended, we're like, oh, what if this happens? Oh, what if this happens? So, but no, overall though,
They got you.
yeah, man, I feel like I enjoyed it, and very curious about where they're going to take things, and going forward. Those 2 end credits were very intriguing. But again, I will say though, like, as a Captain Marvel movie, there's nothing about Captain Marvel that has me excited about her future, which we probably won't have from what the actress was talking about even before this movie was released. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Frigginz, where were you at before? Where were you at coming out?
Well, as I mentioned,
I know
going
you
in
didn't
before,
care going.
I did not give any shit about this movie. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, when
Hey,
I
Peeps,
saw
I'm gonna
that,
be at the theater. If you don't want to come, I don't know if you want to go, but I'll
yeah,
be there.
I saw the trailer. I was like, oh wow, this one, this might be the first Marvel movie that I just wait and don't see in theater and wait until I see it. I legitimately considered waiting, and it wasn't, again, like, it was just because what I was seeing, I was like, I don't think this is, a movie for me. It's just not targeted to me. There are some movies that come out and I see the trailer and I'm like, nah. And I had that feeling for this one. But the nerd inside of me could not let that pass. I did have to see it in theater. But this is interesting because I'm a kind of a movie snob in the sense that, like, when I go see a movie, especially a Marvel movie or something,
Shakes his head.
he's like,
Sure
yeah. But I love seeing it like on the big screen in the XD theater, the surround sound, like the massive one. And this one, like, I looked and like decent seats were full. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna order the not XD one. And we went, even Peeps. When you were talking about tickets, you're like, how come you didn't get the XD seats? I'm like, I'm not gonna pay extra for this one.
Oh man.
But honestly, I probably would have, but they were sold out, so I didn't put up a big fight for it. I think I even ordered them like a couple days before the movie actually came out instead of like the month ahead that you normally do. So yeah, I was not interested. I did not. Seriously and legitimately almost did not see this movie in theater because of I think one of the most motivating factors was I thought we were going to do a recording. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to be on that. So
got to do it for the pod.
That's right. Do it for the podcast. But coming out of it, I had quite a different experience. I think it was in the movie, I had such an interesting experience of loving and think, but also hating the same thing. But then I couldn't help but find myself laughing. There was some joy that I was able to pull out of it, and one character in particular. Marvel did some really amazing things with some details we'll talk about that I actually really, really liked. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I realized not every movie, in particular, not every Marvel movie, has to be game changing. Not everything has been game changing. Some things are just okay, and that's okay. And I think that, like, as I was watching that, I kind of came to that realization. There's a disappointment when you're really excited for something and it doesn't hit to the level you want. But when you have like zero expectations, it's a lot easier to appreciate it for what it was. And I think that's what helped me when I came out of there and I laughed. I saw some cool action. I had a decent time. There were some things I liked about it. There definitely some things I didn't like about it. But overall, like, it was fine. Like, I had a good time, and I was glad that I actually decided to see it in theater.
I have a question for you, Frigginz.
Yeah.
Where is Thor 2 on your list?
I'll pull it up and you'll get to know in a little
number
bit.
29.
It's I moved some things around on the list. I don't think Thor 2 did.
Thor 2 is very low on your totem pole. So it's a movie, comparatively you don't enjoy very well.
Thor 2 has moved on my totem pole. FYI.
Okay. Well, my point is that even though you don't like Thor 2 as much as an overall movie,
yeah,
I to go with your statement, even though, not game breaking things have to happen in movies all the time, I will slightly disagree with you and say
Okay.
that Thor 2 being, not that great of a movie, there were so many like very character important events that happened in that movie. He lost
Sure.
his mom. He that's where we got the one of the Infinity Stones. We had that low-key sacrifice, like, again, but um and then even the end of that, like, that whole movie had a purpose, and it was part of a bigger plot that we
Yeah.
felt like it was leading to something. Whereas, like, I will say, the thing that I don't like about this is that, like, what did this movie, what was the purpose of this movie?
Well, and
What did it actually do? Yeah.
that's kind of my point is you could take Thor 2 out of existence and it doesn't matter. Like you could still get the idea of what a reality stone is later. There are
That
details that
moment
are
in
missed.
Endgame, though,
No,
like,
hold on, hold on. There are
okay.
moments that are like explained later in other movies. Just like in Endgame, you get they can tell you of the big events that happen without necessarily sitting through that. But my point is, the movie was I still had a good time with it. It's on the bottom of my list, but I don't like hate it. And that's what I'm saying. Same thing with what I
Yeah.
realized with Miss Marvel was like, oh yeah, there's been other Marvel movies that I haven't liked that were not game changing, like an Endgame or a Winter Soldier or whatever. But also, I still enjoyed it, and it's still fun, and that's okay. And so, like that's what I was getting out of it is they don't all have to be bangers. They're not all going to be number one on your list every time a new one comes out. Like,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean it sucked. Like it was still fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. So going in, was looking forward to it. Yeah, Captain Marvel, the original film, is on my lower end.
Yeah.
I think that making it a Marvel's film and kind of adding more to it really helped, right? It helped kind of make it be like, okay, this is something I want to see a little bit more than maybe a direct Captain Marvel sequel where she's just by herself. Especially after the Miss Marvel show. Um, you know, I was excited for this one. I did buy the tickets like the day they dropped. We were ready. IMAX, let's go, right? Like just um but yeah, and like you said, Friggins, like you were one of the ones that said, like not every movie's for me. And this is one of those ones that, through my daughter, who shout out by the way, tomorrow turns 10. And
Awesome.
Whoop, whoop.
she she loved Miss Marvel. She really liked Captain Marvel, and she was Captain Marvel for Halloween a couple years ago. She was Miss Marvel for Halloween this year, and like watching that show and then seeing a movie come out where now Kamala is a part of something with another character she likes was a big deal for her, right? Like, and she was like, this is awesome, like getting to see them together. And I could see the giddiness in her throughout the movie when Kamala's kind of fangirling,
Mhm.
about Carol, and it's like, oh my God, and, Captain, my Captain, like, things where she's just like, this is my hero, right? Like, and I could see that in my daughter's eyes watching this movie that, like, her because I feel like she relates more to Miss Marvel at this point, right? And then
Yeah.
seeing how Miss Marvel is with Captain Marvel, it was just I could see that connection, and that made me more excited to watch this movie because I wanted to do it with her and
That's
kind of
awesome.
see that play out. And doing it, like, we just had such a big smile on her face watching it the whole time. When we walked out, like, I was like, "What do you think? What's your rating?" And she's like, 10 out of 5. Like, she's, like, so stoked about it. I
Wow.
was like and usually I'm like, "Yo, you can't go above 5. There's no such thing." But I was gonna let her have that 10 out of 5
Yeah.
because, she was on cloud 9. She wore her Miss Marvel Halloween outfit to the movie premiere.
That's
She was
awesome.
excited, man. She was stoked, and, so yeah, we had a blast, man. My wife thought it was really fun, and she had a great time with it. Like, we all walked out super happy. Geeky Pat, on the other hand, not so much. But,
Not so much.
you know, and it's just one of those things that, again, like, as you kind of we've talked about other movies being like this where you kind of have this weird toxicity, and it's like,
Yeah.
you look at Twitter or you look at Threads, whatever, and you're kind of scrolling through, and it's like you literally go from one tweet of like, this is the worst movie ever made, to the very next tweet saying like, oh my God, this is my favorite Marvel movie, I loved it, I've seen it 3 times already. So it's
Yeah.
just like, again, you're just like, wow, man, how divisive like some of these movies can be. And in the last week, I feel like more and more tweets that I see are positive. Like it's
Well, that's
everybody
good.
being like, how has this film not done better? Right? Like this is such a fun movie. And that really was the term I walked out with. In my head, I was like, that was fun. Like, yes, there was nothing really game changing, right? We weren't like, oh my God, like I love how this set up this, right? Like, I mean, take post-credit scene aside, it's like it was just a movie. It was just a story. We told it. We're done, right? It was
Yeah.
more about the comedy and the action and another superhero meeting her idol and stuff like that. And like that's what the movie was for. And I had a blast with it, and I thought it was really fun. And then when I asked my wife, we got in the car, I said, "What'd you think?" She goes, "That was really fun." And that word came up again, and I was like, "See," and I hadn't even said that yet. And I was like, "Yes, that was my logic with it. Was it's a fun time at the
Yeah.
theater, right? Like we
Yeah.
we we laughed, we smiled, we enjoyed." And I think that's what you guys got out of it too. Was just
Yeah.
a fun movie, like nothing more, nothing less. Um, you know, so yeah, so that's kind of overall thoughts. So as we like to do, we like to always go kind of right in, get the negative kind of out the way. What stands out? What are some of the things that we didn't like, about this movie? I'll kind of start just because there's not really much that I didn't like about the movie. I'll start villain wise. What Darben, I believe, was her name. I like her motive. It made sense why she was pissed and why she wanted to do what she wanted to do, but this definitely falls in that, like, who gives a fuck checklist of villains, right? This is
Yeah.
Malekith the elf, right? This is
Yeah.
like this is stuff like that where you just have like a C level villain and you're like, it's not really memorable. They weren't that great. And this has nothing to do again with the actress or anything. She played her role the way that they wrote it. But unfortunately, it was just kind of a whack villain. Like nothing really happened. And at the end of the movie, when she finally gets the two bangles that she wanted the whole film, she fucking just died. Like it just like didn't
Yeah.
really make any sense. It just overpowered her and she disintegrated. Like it was like, okay, what the hell was the point of
Was
that?
that on purpose
Exactly.
Um,
or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I'm just like, holy shit. So that was a bummer that we didn't have something stronger. It doesn't super take away anything for the movie from me because to me this movie's about the three leads. So like the villain is whatever to me. Like if the three leads work, which they do, and their chemistry is fantastic, then the villain's whatever. But that was definitely a didn't like kind of weak point of the movie. I thought in the trailer she was going to be this new Ronin. She was going to be this new badass. Like,
Yeah.
she had the staff, she had everything, right? She's with the Kree. And it just was like, you ruined my planet and I'm going to fucking kill you. Like, so that was a bummer for me. I really did not like the singing planet. That was I couldn't fucking like I was like that was the point in the movie where I was like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Like
Yeah.
like when they got there and they were like, you gotta be singing, and then she turned into a princess with the Captain Marvel logo on her dress. And
yeah.
I'm just like, what is going on? And they're singing and they're dancing, and I'm like, okay, you lost me for a good, 10 minutes there. The
We
planet
agree on.
itself the planet itself looked cool, and I liked the action that we got out of it, but the concept of the singing planet and how Carol was a princess and she had basically married this dude to make him legal. Like it was like this whole fucking the weird ass marriages that happened to bring somebody into our country. Like it's
Yeah.
just so it was such a weird little kind of sidestep that it just didn't flow for me. And I have seen several people go to bat for this scene online and be like, I liked it. But it just this was a WTF moment for me in the film. I couldn't get down with it really at all. And then lastly, really, this is my three big points. I wish we would have got more either flashback or what with Carol, blowing up the Supreme Intelligence, right? And like this was basically the gist of the movie, right? She blew up this thing in the sequel we didn't get, and
Mhm.
and basically ruined the planet, right? They had no sun, they had no water, the air was messed up because she broke the Supreme Intelligence. And they do a little flashback scene, and it looked cool as shit. And I wish we would have got more. I
I
think the
thought there was going
movie
to be
would have
more to
been
that.
yeah, and
It
I
should have been a
I truly
movie.
feel That's what I'm saying. That's why I joke like that's the Captain Marvel 2 that they skipped over to get
Yeah.
to this one, right? The Marvels does feel like a part 3, right? Than more of a
Very
part
much.
2.
Yeah.
And I think what they should have done is they should have had that flashback scene more fleshed out, and I think the movie should have started there. I think if you
Ooh,
started
that would
with
have been
that
better.
and it showed, you know, her fighting Dar-Ben and fighting the Kree and then blowing up the Supreme Intelligence and then the planet kind of dying, and then you go to the Marvel logo, right? And then the credits start coming in, and then it's like, okay, now we're off to the races, right? Present day, boom, we pick up. We already know the backstory there. And I get what they were trying to do was like have this big reveal later of like, you know, how come you never came to visit? And it's like, oh, I'm sad because I fucked this planet up.
Yeah,
But
and I
it's
wanted
like
to
it would have
fix it
worked
before I
better.
came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have just worked better, like more fleshed out and kind of, and I think it would have been placed better in the beginning because there's been several Marvel movies where you got the opening scene and then it goes to the Marvel crawl, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
start right there. And I think that would have set the tone a
Guardians.
little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of movies. I mean, Quantumania just did that a couple months back, right? Like
Yeah.
we get the
Yep.
Kang crashing and dealing with, you know, Michelle
That's right.
Pfeiffer before the logo opens. So,
It's true.
so those are the main things that stand out to me. I might agree more with you guys as you talk and things pop into my head more, but those were the big ones coming out of it for me that kind of really stood out for me as things I didn't quite like. Like I said, didn't ruin the movie for me, but just if I'm pointing out things that I wish would have been a little bit different or changed, that's kind of where I'd start. So, Frigginz, pass it to you. What you got?
Well, peeps, I apologize. I'm going to take a while. After I'm done, you're probably just going to
No,
say,
stop
I
it.
agree. um, Look, in all seriousness, I feel like there's quite a bit wrong with this film. And I'm going to start with the fact that it was number 3 and not number 2. Or it should. It should have been a sequel before this
Right.
one, just like we said, or just like you said, Don.
Yeah.
That story in the flashback of her going up against the Supreme Intelligence, I had so many more questions, and that was so much more interesting. I think I would have rather seen a film about that sequence of events where we could learn about Dar-Ben so we can care about Dar-Ben to see what happens to her later. The opening sequence where it shows her getting the bangle was completely lame. The other bad guys around her, not just her, but like the other people that were in her squad were terrible. I mean, the acting in that
More
scene was
terrible. Yeah.
incredibly rough. Like, we don't need that. She could show up with the thing and just say, I have one, I'm looking for the other one. And that explains everything we really need to know. So we didn't need that at all. And I actually really like your idea about having that. If you're not going to give us that sequel first, then that opening credit scene to give us that background would have been much, much better. So totally on par with you on that. The other thing, also on par with you, was with the singing planet. That's the thing that I like hated and loved at the exact same time. As a aspect of Marvel universe and their reality, I hated it. But as a moment in the theater, I loved it. Like I was dying. I was cracking up. Like when the dress appears, I looked over at Peace. I was like, "What?
Yeah.
Like where did that come from?"
Yeah. Who generated that? Was it the prince? Like I'm like, who did this? Who did
And
this?
it just like
She don't got that
disappears.
power.
It's like just in their head. I didn't understand. But like when you're trying to, it was a very Taika Waititi kind of moment, I think. And they were trying to match his level and even some of what Gunn has done. And they were trying to match their level of kind of wackiness, but I think it went way too far to the Disney side for the reality of the universe that Marvel resides in. However, that being said, as a scene, I absolutely thought it was hilarious. You mentioned the bad guy. So again, we're on all the same pages so far. Dar-Ben is the completely who cares character. They gave us nothing to really like this character. The motivation was a good motivation, but you know, there was just nothing there. There's no gravitas. My biggest problem with her is how is Captain Marvel gonna struggle against her, especially if she's got 2 people. And don't tell me that like her power was slightly drained because of the bands. Like, okay, even if it was slightly, like she could have almost no power, and I still, after seeing her take on Thanos, like I feel like she still would have beat her even with like the smallest amount of power still left. that was one of the hardest things to believe about this film, was that this was a challenging bad guy. Nothing about the bends, her ability to have that, drain the power, anything, gave me the sense that she could be as much as a threat as Thanos, and then some, that would make Captain Marvel struggle with her with partners. This one's probably going to generate some hate. So Sean, sorry, but
Hate.
Photon didn't really need to be in the movie. I feel like her character was not utilized at the level that she should have been.
You mean Marvel Woman?
Yeah, Professor Marvel or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, so like, if you look at comics history, like, some people think of Captain Marvel as Marvel, the original guy, and then some think of Photon. She was like a big part of the Avengers for many years, and I don't remember what era, maybe like the 80s, 70s, something like that. So like, I've talked to and listened to many podcasts where people are like, that's what I think of Captain Marvel, was Photon, basically, and Monica Rambeau. But then there's like, when I first met Carol Danvers, I met her as Miss Marvel, and then she became Captain Marvel, which I thought was a cool little progression. And so I think it depends on like where you come as which one is your captain. But so I get why they wanted to include her in the totality of it, but they really didn't have her do a whole lot. And I think you could do the same movie with just Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel.
How would they close the portal, Fred?
It just takes two instead of three.
On the other side.
I'm just saying it was fine. I'm just saying I feel like she could have been completely cut and you would have had essentially the same movie, which tells me that's a bad thing, that they didn't use her character to like the fullest that she probably could have been used. I have so many more I can keep going, but the last thing I guess I'll talk on is Saber. And I was calling it Sword in my Instagram review because I was thinking about the Sword Station.
It's Sword. It's literally Sword.
Exactly. So it's a saber, whatever. You're going to tell me that you set this thing up for years, where we first saw Nick Fury in an after credit scene walking on Saber, and then, they hint at it with Secret Invasion and then not really show us. And I'm building up like this is going to be some kind of big deal, and it's not. It's just another background setting. It's literally an office for them to hang out in.
They don't do anything.
They do nothing, and then it blows up. Like, what the hell? Like, complete waste of, I feel like you teased this for nothing and wasted all of our like excitement and discussion about what that was going to be. I feel like there's more, but I'll let Peeps go. Sorry if I said everything.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
When we get to the goods after you go, I'll just say that's all I got.
I got you. Well, I'm surprised you guys didn't mention it, but for me, this is a semi bad, but it didn't do it for me. But the whole Flurkin scene,
yes,
I get the point of it, and it was cute for the kids, right? It was cute for the kids, but like the story in which they tried to convince us didn't make sense. Like, yes, I get it. There's storage units, so they get to store the people, but they're a bunch of mindless cats. How were they able to convince the cats to eat these people until we get off of the station? And then they just said, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. There's no overthinking it. This is how did they do that? But whatever.
Any thinking about it is too much.
That's true, because it only
purely for comedic.
It didn't need any of the main characters. They weren't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
That's the funny thing. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like whatever. But yeah, it was fine. But like I said, overall, it's not like a bad thing. But like all in all, I'm like, this is what we're doing. We're spending time doing this when this, I don't know, like this these quantum bands responsible for tearing holes in the fabric of space is happening, but we're gonna And I love how they made it seem like it was such a secret. And Frigginz and I are like this movie isn't for us because they're obviously eggs from this alien creature that they showed in the trailer. But like, okay, where are these eggs coming from? Like, I don't know. Yeah, it was fine.
Funny thing was, is the popcorn bucket at AMC was the Flurkin egg.
Oh,
and
wow.
when we saw those
disgusting.
in the when we saw them in the lobby, we were like, "What the fuck is that? Like, and why is this the popcorn bucket?" Because I didn't see it in the trailer at all.
They showed
And,
a lot
I
of
just saw the
cats.
kittens. I saw a bunch of kittens.
Well, yes, the kittens, but the eggs,
Yeah.
I had no idea. So I was like, what? Why is this the Captain Marvel bucket? And then the very first egg pops up in the movie, and I'm like, oh shit, it's the popcorn bucket. Like, that's what it is. So it was really funny. And then my daughter was like, now we really got to get the popcorn bucket because it had the Flurkins in it. That was awesome.
Yeah. Kamala's family was great until they got on the station, and then I'm like, why are they there? What are they doing? Why are they there? What is even happening? You're not going anywhere, Kamala. You're staying here. Like, okay, so why are we doing any of this then? Like, I don't know. And then where's even the brother's wife? Like, that was a whole big moment in the show where he got married.
Yeah,
but she's gone. I guess, I don't know. Whatever, it's fine.
He would just happen to be at the house when they had the big fight.
Okay,
so
sure.
Nick took everybody at the house.
There you
he
go.
called the wife, said, "I'll be back later. No,
Got it.
Leave the food on the stove."
Yeah,
I'll agree with you guys again with the villain. I think that everyone is saying that, and I agree. I think for me, if they would have given her some kind of something to make her stand out a little bit more, to make her a little bit more badassery, like instead of like a hammer, I don't know, give her like a big ass scythe or something like that, like some kind of comic book thing that pops. And maybe instead of her being average size, she's like an Avatar size. She's like 8 foot or something like that.
Yeah.
Or give her glowing eyes, something to make her stand out. I don't think there's really anything with the storyline that they gave us. I don't think there's really anything they could have done to really make me care, outside as when you have that villain that you actually that you're like, you're kind of siding with, like, actually that she has a really good point. But in this one, like, no, you don't have a good point. It's not good to take someone else's water for yourself. Like, no. There's nowhere anywhere where I'm ever going to agree that this is a good thing to. So her motives, in my opinion, didn't make sense. And you guys say that they killed the superior intelligence. And I'm like, how did that destroy the sun? No, that didn't destroy the sun. Her killing the supreme intelligence created a civil war, and they destroyed their own sun by like the war, I guess. Sure, but like, I don't know, leave.
Yeah,
I don't know, like I don't know. I don't know. I didn't get it. I didn't like the villain. She was dumb. Like freaking said, there's no stakes. Even them fighting her and her sucking up their powers, it's like, stop shooting her. Carol, stop shooting her.
Just don't shoot her.
Oh, like, okay, I'm gonna go grab her. Oh, like, you're dumb. Like, come on. Like, can we do something else here? I don't know. All right. Something you guys didn't say. For me, at the end of the movie, when Kamala got her band taken off, I thought that this would be a moment that we would get Kamala from the comics. Her powers are completely different from the comics. I honestly don't like this light-based create stuff thing that she does, because she doesn't, first of all, she doesn't do anything cool with it outside of punch and grab people from a distance. So if that's all you're going to have her do with this power, then just give her powers from the comics.
Yeah, she makes little steps that she can jump on,
but she doesn't do it.
She did it in the movie.
She barely did it. Okay, she's falling from space, and I told Frigginz how cool would it have been if she would have created like an Iceman slide or something like that, and like to slow her momentum or something, but she didn't. I don't know. And yes, she did make some steps or whatever, but like, I don't know, it's dumb. Just do in the comics, and she can make herself like Ant-Man size. Like that'll be fine. I don't know. And I just thought that this would be a way that they can do it. Oh my gosh, she doesn't have the band. Remember, she has mutant abilities, and maybe that's gonna tie into this movie somehow. They kind of led to that at the end of it. Nope.
Yeah.
So
well, it's because they don't want her to be stretchy like Reed, because they're gonna try to make that a big deal when they launch.
I think, but her deal is a little bit more than just stretchiness. Like she can control the dense, whatever. But yeah, sure. Even if
at the end of the day, she's stretchy.
Yeah, at the end of the day, she's stretchy.
Like.
But like, yeah, sure, it's similar to Reed, but like, I think that would be an interesting, like, hey, I could stretch. You know what I mean? Like, she would totally geek over that like little thing. Like, we're like the same. I don't know.
I mean, but they kind of have her do that with her light powers. Like, she didn't do it in the movie, but on the show, she turned really big, like Giant Man. And then when she does the big fist, like it's stretchy and long.
Yeah.
So
I don't like it.
they just had to tweak it. It's very Green Lantern-y now, more than anything else.
Yeah, I don't like it. Let's see. I already mentioned how disappointed, and this was a me thing. I was disappointed that they didn't actually have Blue Marvel, or they didn't have Marvel Girl in it. Think that would have been amazing, but whatever. Nick Fury. I know Nick Fury's purpose was to be the big, like, this is Marvel. Remember him? He's in it. He doesn't really do anything. No. And the whole Secret Invasion. This is no, we're talking about negatives, but I guess a negative good thing is that this kind of takes a Secret Invasion away. Like, that shit never happened.
Thank you.
Like, there's no wife. There's no conversation about
because the rumor is that Secret Invasion was supposed to come out after the Marvels, and when they pushed it back from July, it then made it come out after. So that's why there's really no connection.
Yeah,
because he's a totally different Nick Fury in the Marvels than he is in Secret Invasion.
He's fighting again, and he like never lost his mojo. He's good, and he's a little bit more quippy.
He's got no worries in the world.
Yeah,
super quippy in this movie, dude. You could tell. They were like, just come to set, Sam, and just whatever the fuck. I don't think he had any lines on the paper. He's all Black Girl Magic, and they're like, yeah, just leave it in.
That was such a good moment.
That's so funny.
Oh, it's just Monica, or it's just Carol.
It's just Carol.
Carol, that was my favorite, dude. Oh, it's just Carol. Just Carol. Black Girl Magic.
Let's see. Like, honestly, though, like, yeah, I'm kind of with you though, DX. I mean, things that I didn't like. There are several plot things that bothered me that could have made this movie, I think, better. But letting that go and then just kind of going with the flow that they gave us and just enjoying the movie for this comedy, buddy cop, team up, Marvel film, it served its purpose, and it was and like you said, I 100% agree, it was a lot of fun. I think that was the first thing I said in our messages when we said, when I said my thoughts about it. It's like, yeah, it was fun. Like, I laughed and several things I feel very similar with Blue Beetle. Several things that I'm like, could have done this better. But whatever, it is what it is,
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, well, let's switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff we love, some of the things we enjoyed coming out of it. And I really do think like the fun aspect is the biggest thing to say in this kind of, spot, right? Like, it's just the moments with our leads, right? Like I said, like if there's no chemistry between Carol and Kamala and Monica, then this movie falls apart like 100%. The fact that they do work very well together, and that there is not only the backstory of Lieutenant Trouble and Carol and kind of them being so close to each other, but then Kamala being the fangirl that's just like, oh my God, it's Nick Fury. Is this an Avengers test? Like, I get to be a part of this. Let's be a team, and just having that really young teenager kind of optimism, right? Like that she's just like, yo, I'm just so stoked. Let's do this, and Carol's like, yo, I'm solo. I've always been solo. I'm gonna ride solo. So but I think that that's what makes the movie work for me is the chemistry between the three. I like where they're at from the beginning of the film to the end of the film.
Yeah.
I thought the action was all pretty solid. I love the interchanging of the three every time they use their powers at the same time, especially the montage of them training on how to do it. I like that we got that. That's not something that we typically kind of get in a movie like this. And I thought that was super cool. Like, like with them trying to learn how to, if I do this, then you do this, and then I'll do this, and you do this. Like,
You like
to
that
where
part
when
too,
they get
didn't you, Friggins?
A montage is always good.
Yeah. You didn't leave
to
and
have
go
a
to the bathroom during that
montage.
time.
I actually missed the montage because I had to run to the
Oh
restroom.
no!
But
This
of all the
motherfucker,
times
he's-
to have to run to the restroom, I didn't miss much other than a training.
Yeah.
No, but it was great. It was so much fun to see them like be successful at it, but then also fail at it, and then trying to just figure out how to make it work. I liked using the little headset thing that they did to kind of get some flashbacky stuff, like they did
True.
it with the purpose of going into Kamala's memories because she saw the star map and she knew where they were going, but then having it bounce, right? And then having that almost be a MacGuffin to doing some of that backwards homework that we talked about at the beginning because it shows the stuff from WandaVision where her mom died while she blipped, and then she comes back and it's like, oh, Maria's already passed, and then
Yeah.
seeing that because that was straight from WandaVision, and then seeing some of the stuff with Kamala from the TV show, and like getting that as some kind of pieces to put back together. Seeing that Carol did come back and see Maria when she was dying of cancer, and having that conversation, and
Yeah.
her being like, I can't come back because it's too difficult, right? You're my best friend, you're like a sister to me, and you're dying, and it makes Earth be somewhere I don't want to be because it reminds me of that. And that was a piece I think we needed, right? Because one of the biggest questions around Captain Marvel has always been, where the fuck is she? Because it's like they introduced that she was a thing from the 90s and was the inspiration for the Avengers with Nick Fury, but then she's gone,
Mhm.
and then we never see her again until Endgame, and she's only in Endgame for like 10 minutes. So
Mhm.
it's just like, and then since then we got what, a post-credit scene in Shang-Chi. Like there's really been nothing with Carol,
Yeah.
and that's always been a question is, where's Captain Marvel? Where's Captain Marvel? Like, how is Kamala such a fan of Captain Marvel when she's never fucking around? You know what I mean? Like
Good
when you
point.
start to really think about it, how she got all these posters and t-shirts and all these things for Carol that when she's never on Earth. So how would Earthlings really know about her, right? Other than the
Well,
rumor of the Annihilator.
I will
You know?
say, Boba Fett was my favorite Star Wars character for years, and he was only on the movie for like a minute and a half.
It's very
Yeah.
true.
But you saw it from a different perspective. If you were
And
just
now
someone
he's
that
no
lived on
longer my
Tatooine on the
favorite.
other side of the planet, you probably
That's
wouldn't know
cool.
who the fuck Boba Fett was. But yeah, but this movie, like I said, it mainly works because of the chemistry of the three. I like the devices that they use to give us some flashbacks, piece some of the pieces back together. The like I said, the quippiness, the comedy, we talked a little bit about it. Like to me, I really enjoyed Nick Fury in this movie because and maybe that's because of Secret Invasion, right? Like in
True.
Secret Invasion, he's so dour and down and grumpy and beat up, and I'm a Nick Fury that just doesn't know if I'll live to see tomorrow. Whereas in here, he's kind of old school Nick, and he's more like, he's badass and throw him a gun, he's gonna kill motherfuckers, and he's got the, like, just he's got some really good moments in this movie with some one-liners,
Bless
and
you.
I thought he was a fun time in this film. That I appreciated. Like I said, the fight choreography, the three powers bouncing back and forth. I like how they brought that together at the end. We'll talk, post credits later. I loved the surprise of the Young Avengers setup. I thought that was done really, really well.
Finally.
Um,
Finally.
Wait.
yes, that we've been talking about this for a couple years. They've been planting seeds, and then as soon as I saw the dog, I was like, "Oh shit, it's gonna be Kate." And when Kate walked in, and she's like, "Kate," and it's very Nick Fury to Iron Man, right? Like it's,
Heck yeah.
"Hey, I got this list. I'm putting together
The
a team.
same line.
Let's
The
do this."
same line from the Iron
Yeah,
Man
it
movie.
was so good. She's like, okay. So it was great to see Haley Steinfeld. That was something that was not spoiled for me, and I appreciated that.
Spoiled for me.
Because
Oh, that's nice.
the post credits I had an idea of through some big rumors that were floating around for a while. So even though I didn't know for sure, I wasn't shocked when I saw what I saw because I had already heard the rumors. But yeah, setting up the Young Avengers, because that's not something even that Marvel has greenlit or Marvel's talked about, like, hey, in 2025 you're getting
Mhm.
some sort of Young Avengers. It's been mum. We've just been in our own heads being like, well, we got Ironheart and we got, America Chavez and Hulk's got a son. And like,
Yeah.
we have all these characters setting up. We got Patriot out there, all these different things. Wanda's kids coming back, like what do we have here? I love that Kamala's kind of going to be the one to kind of head that up. I like that she had the little thing that was like that she was like, you got stuff on me? And she took that and then was looking up other heroes to go find them.
Yeah.
I thought that was super, super cool. Um, yeah. Those are the main things that stick out for me. Like I said, the movie lives and dies by the chemistry of the leads, and that's what makes it fun. The dynamic between the three make it fun. I really liked Monica in here, so I disagree, that with Fred saying like, oh, that he thinks the movie could have been just as good without her. I think she did serve a purpose.
Mhm.
And again, I think that stems from WandaVision. I think that's buying into that character and seeing what she's been through. I like that, I liked her powers. I like the way that they did it. I like the way that she could almost like Vision. She could phase through the walls and phase through people, and then but also use the powers. She was badass at the end when they charged her up. Like, so yeah, I think and I think she just the way Tiona Paris plays her is really, really well. So I like the way she plays the character because she's kind of no nonsense, but at the same time, she was singing and dancing on the singing planet, like kind of getting down, so she was badass when she got her suit. I like the new suits. I
I
thought
like the
that was
suit.
really cool. I like
Yeah.
that they got that from the singing planet, that it was like he was like, yeah, I made you guys some stuff. Even little things like Kamala's scarf,
Scarf.
being kind of
Yeah.
something she could whip, and it kind of doing more than just being a scarf like around her neck, so the suits were really cool. And a lot of times they just have a new suit at the end of the movie and you're kind of like, well, where did that come from? So at least they kind of explained it here that he was, putting some new threads together for them, and they had a purpose of what they could do. So those are the big things that stood out for me. Frigginz, what were some of the standouts for you?
Uh, a lot of the same. I would say that my favorite thing was probably the suits. I really like character design. I think it's really cool when we see that simplicity added to the costumes. If you follow a lot of the Marvel movies, you can see through the progression, especially as the years go on, that they see the designs of them just seem to get more and more complicated. Ant-Man is a perfect example of how they've just made his suit way more complicated than it needs to be as he's gone into his sequels and whatnot. And so for this one, I loved how they pulled back on that. If you take like the Captain Marvel suit from Endgame, and
That's
it's
what I was
got
just
all
gonna.
a million lines and all this stuff, and even her first suit she was wearing in the Marvels was way better, super simple. Even though there were some lines that are the same color, so it kind of blended in. And then by the time she gets the final suit, it's even more simple. And to me, that was a win. I think that they overcomplicate suits sometimes. And I also liked, how they did her hairstyle a little different. She seems to have had, this different changes in hair
Yeah,
across the different movies she
yeah.
shows up in. I really like this one. And again, the same suits, same for everyone else with Photon, Rambo, and Miss Marvel.
Let me
And
piggyback on that real quick. The
yeah,
simplicity. I love that she just kind of took the suit down, right? She had the tank top
yeah,
on,
that was
and
cool.
you could tell like the suit was dangling like behind her,
Yep.
so it was just kind of almost like a hoodie
It's
that
like a
she just kind of
jumpsuit.
threw on.
Yeah.
And like you said, everybody now it's like nanotech, right? It's just
Right.
fucking blip and then blip, and then
Yep. Yep.
and everything is just there. Um, that was cool. That was really cool because yeah, her suit in the beginning is very much like her other suit, but more of a jumpsuit kind of
Yeah.
thing. And that I
I
like
loved
that
it.
she could just be like, all right, I'm back on my ship. Let me take this down. Let me relax, and not
She
have to
looked
change
cool like
into it or
that.
just
Yeah.
she looked awesome, man. I thought she was hot as hell in this movie.
And I like too how the suit, even
Yeah.
like how the sleeves were like rolled up. Like that
Yeah.
was such a cool look. I really really love that fursuit that she was wearing. So yeah, and then and to clarify, I think Monica was a really cool character. I also liked what they did with her. My point earlier was that I think she was underutilized. I think she could have done even more than what she did. But
What he said.
again, the suits. That's what
She did just as much as the other
They
two.
could have took her out and it wouldn't have changed. That's what I'm saying. Like they needed to like utilize her more. She's really cool. Anyway, the other good things that I liked, I think with the fight scenes, this is I'm gonna kind of contradict myself a little bit. I did like the fight scenes. I thought they did good. I still feel that they could have like made them a little bit better. To me, it seems like when the choreography has shifted from like they're using the people that do the choreography for a TV show when they should be using like the guys that do the choreography for Shang-Chi. Like that choreography was super amazing fights. And I just felt like it could have maybe been a little bit better, but for what it was really enjoyable. And I did like seeing the and Peeps, you talk about this a lot, like when we're talking about team groups and like using each other and kind of playing off of each other. And I thought that was really cool to be able to see in this one. I did also enjoy Nick Fury coming back. That was fun to see him in his, Samuel L. Jackson form and not his like sad old grandpa form. And I'm just going to continue to believe Secret Invasion did not happen. And of course,
They could have used Gaia.
the Young Avengers comment there towards the end was really cool. I think it's a little late, but they even made fun of it when she's like, I'm like 23, man. That was really funny. And the comedy, I think that's one last positive that I'll stop on for now is that aspect helped me to get something out of it that I wasn't expecting from it. And I found myself laughing more than I anticipated. And that was probably one of the funner aspects of the film. And comedy is not even like I'm not a big comedy genre fan. Like I like it, but I don't love it. And like, so it was funny enough. It was funny enough to, get me into it and keep me intrigued. So that's where I'll end on the positives before we talk about, the after credits.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fred. I was trying to confirm if it was canon in terms of the timeline with my Marvel Cinematic Universe's official timeline book.
Very nice. It's not in there.
You've read it more than I have. I haven't even opened the thing.
Oh, dang.
One of these days.
Get in there.
What you got, Peeps? What were the standouts for you?
Some things y'all didn't say, so I'm surprised. Number one, I'll go ahead and say I think this should have been a Kamala. I think this should have been a Miss Marvel movie. I think it would have been pretty interesting if it was centered around her, and then her meeting her hero and all that, and just kind of getting looped into this this story. And then Captain Marvel 2 already happened, but since this is, what I mean, like it, I don't know. I think that would have been probably a better choice for a direction. But with that, I love the opening with Kamala. It was very much first episode of the Miss Marvel TV show with the whole animated
animation. That's
her
right.
And Miss Marvel, my hero, and best buds and all that. Like that was so dope, man. I was like, yeah. But again, just like the show, like they never really did anything like that again. So that's okay. I just think it would have been funny, like later on when she was like, "Oh my god, we're a team!" Like you see a little animated thing like behind her, like that's her little niche is that stuff she sees in her head or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I really love that part. Let's see. I think they did a pretty good transition from the Miss Marvel show. From them transferring and then Carol being like in her room like immediately. And I loved when Carol travels, like she just moves like beyond light speed. Like she's like, I'm galaxies away, I'm back in like 30 seconds or whatever. Like I don't know, I thought that was like, I don't know, I think that's really cool. Let's see. Another thing you guys didn't mention, I loved the Valkyrie cameo. I wasn't expecting, and you know, to kind of go in this, like, you know, if they were doing like a movie about girl power, like let's call it, we know, I know a king that I can call, and it made sense in this. It didn't feel forced at all. I got a bunch of refugees that need a place to stay.
Right.
I know a guy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Which also makes the Secret Invasion thing not make sense, right? Because Secret Invasion ends with all aliens are fucking not belong on Earth anymore, and they're all fucking, you know, against America and all this stuff. So then, yeah, New Asgard is on Earth. So I mean, bringing more aliens doesn't quite make sense, but
and
you know,
and I was going to say this in my closing, but like it, I think this movie also suffers. We're talking about what happened and why it's not doing too well. I think it's suffering from many things. I mean, delays, COVID, the strike, you know, yeah, and I would even say the homework is something that to add on this as well. No, like really big, like Robert Downey Jr. faces to, like, you know, bring people into the theater. Like, yeah, they see
we're gonna talk about this
like,
in a couple minutes.
Okay, but
stick to what you love.
But yeah, Valkyrie cameo, I loved it.
Okay, tell me though, speaking of that, where the fuck did the Bifrost come from? I would like to know that. Because
kid.
only Stormbreaker
they had a kid. That's
the only Bifrost.
Yep.
There's a kid in Love and Thunder.
What's his name's son?
Heimdall's son.
Heimdall's son, right? He helped Thor create a gateway, right? That teleported
like
the kids away or something.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Rewatch it, Don. I'm not.
I don't know, because even Heimdall even needed the sword. He couldn't just do that shit on his own,
dude.
He still needed the machine.
I'm pretty sure the kid did something.
Beyond his father now, you know.
Yeah,
he can.
They're gonna have to explain that one.
His code name is Bridge.
I wonder what he can do.
They had released a TV spot that had that Bifrost scene in it, and then everybody was like, "Oh shit, Thor's gonna pop up."
Oh wow, glad I didn't see that.
Like, oh man, yeah,
maybe,
yeah, because it was like, oh shit,
yeah.
But it made sense. I had a feeling it was going to be Valkyrie when they were talking about the refugees. I was like, yeah, she's going to be the one.
Yeah. Now,
her and Carol definitely hooked up. I just wanted to tell y'all.
Hey,
they had a good time.
Hopefully, they didn't cut that scene out in the bonus.
They had a marvelous time.
That's like a Fred joke. I'm surprised that didn't come out of my mouth.
What's going on, Fred? The DX you talked about the first post credits. Are we talking about that at all, or are you going to?
It wasn't post credits. That was just part of the movie.
Wasn't it?
That wasn't post credits. It was at the end of the movie. Yeah.
Well, then, yeah, I loved that.
There was only one post credits. Yeah.
I like that part too. And yeah, it just got me buzzing. Like, you know, like who are they going to get? Like, we got Eli Bradley, Riri. I'm thinking like Scar, you know, the Hulk's son, emo Hulk's son, Kate, and like Shuri, maybe. I don't know. She's young.
I don't think Shuri.
Yeah, she's
I think
I don't know.
She's the Black Panther. They're gonna let her.
But like, no, she's the Black Panther, but she's not like the king of Wakanda or anything. Like, that's M'Baku's job now. So I don't know. Could be.
Maybe.
Anyways, yeah, no, it's got me thinking like who is she gonna be recruiting?
There's a lot that they could slide in.
Are they gonna do the twins? Are they real now?
Yeah,
sure. They're
some universe.
Yeah.
They could use America Chavez to open up the multiverse and go grab them.
Oh,
I know a couple people.
Dude, it'll be the twins from the universe where Wanda took the other Wanda and she died or whatever, or she got trapped in that multiverse or something. Anyways, they grow up and then trace it back to the 199999.
There you go.
So
616.
Nope.
616.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see.
They even said it in Loki. Come on, man. Like,
adjacent. So
get with it. Adjacent was the quantum realm.
You know, I made a hilarious joke on the internet, and I'm really proud for myself. But you know how they talk about the Kang Wars and that whole deal that they all fought each other till like almost reality was destroyed. I guarantee the fight was about naming. They're like, "Hi, I'm Kang from Earth 1." He's like, "Fuck you. I'm Kang from Earth 1." And then the other one's like, I'm from Earth One. What are you guys talking about? I started this whole thing. Like, no. And then fights ensued. So
Clever.
just telling you, that's what
like
happened. I got one mic for that.
Pure gold.
So.
Well, you got a second one. Boop.
Appreciate it. But yeah, man. You know, it kind of echoing obviously everything else you guys have said. I don't think there's really anything else. Like, I think the effects. I actually friggin' liked the fight between in the very beginning. When they were shifting with, gosh, it took them forever to beat up those Kree, but but you know, whatever. It was confusing. So yeah, and Monica like not understanding her powers really at all, and like kind of learning it on the fly. And I still don't really understand her powers, and I couldn't tell you what she does. Which I think Frigginz kind of goes into.
I can see light. And I can manipulate it.
Turn the flashlight off. It hurts my eyes. Like I could see it too. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Like maybe, you know, Frigginz, if they kind of got more into her character and what she can do, and her maybe having already mastered her powers at this point, so that we can see. And then even at the end, where we both thought we were going to see that comic book accurate version of her, where she would stand there with where her body looks like midnight, like there's stars like echoing through it, and her hair is out like that would have been amazing. But you know, we didn't go there. We're going to get that in the X-Men movie now. So but yeah, no, that was fun. Effects, and again, like just and the way the movie ended, I thought that was kind of cool. Sure, they could, like everyone else, why didn't they just do this to fix it? But whatever, they didn't have time. They did an audible, come back, no, this was the plan the whole time. Yeah, I've never heard that before in a movie, but good on you. Yeah, but no, it was fine though. I liked it. So good stuff.
All right. Shout out to Aman Vellani, Miss Marvel. I think she's fantastic, and I really do think that she pretty much stole the show here. Just her optimism, and you know, and I even like just the little stuff with her here. You know, where when they left the Scroll planet, you know, and she's like, "We gotta save everybody," and Carol's like, "We gotta save the ones we can because this fucking planet's about to fucking blow up."
I was hoping they would do more with that, though.
But see, I felt like in just that little bit of time, you know, then you went to the singing planet, and then it was Kamala that pressed the, you know, to get the ship out of there, even though they hadn't saved everybody that they could have at that point, because she knew if we don't get out of here, we're not going to get out of here, and she did what was best for them. And it was a learning moment, right? Like she knew she had to do it, and she did that because of Captain Marvel. But I just love the way she plays the role. I thought she was fantastic on the TV show. She's awesome. If you ever watch interviews with her, she is a massive Marvel fan, and like never had aspirations to be an actor, and just loved the Miss Marvel character.
She
and like
is
her friends were
that
like,
character.
they were like, you need to send in an audition, and she's like, sure, whatever. And they picked her, and it's just super, super cool. And I think she's a joy to watch on screen. And even though I had seen in the trailer so many times of Goose eating those guys and her being like, oh my God, like next to him, like it still cracked me the fuck up watching it in the movie. Like her reaction's so good in that scene, you know. And then even when she goes back to the house and she's holding the cat and she's like, I don't know what this is, and it just ate a bunch of people. It's just like freaking out, and they're like, "It's a cat." And she's like, "No, it's not." That's what I'm talking about.
And the family, why does that cat keep eating things?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just so good, man.
I want to just like really emphasize exactly what you said too. I didn't emphasize that enough when I was talking about the good things, but her joy really was the thing that opened my heart to this movie. And without like her expressions and excitement, I don't think I would have liked it as much. And she really, really is the heart of the movie.
Yeah. Her optimism and her joy, and her being like in the show a Marvel kind of fan person, right? And then getting to have those geek out moments that, like, if we were in those spots, we'd be like, oh my God, it's Nick Fury. Oh my God, it's Captain Marvel. Like, you know, and you know, that's what I think really works with making her be the one to try to recruit other young Avengers, you know, is like
she's gonna be
her
so
being like all geeky, being like, oh my God, I'm finding all these other people that are just like me, you know. I
Yeah.
love the whole like line too. It just dawned on me like when she introduces herself to Carol and she goes, "I'm Miss Marvel," and then she's like, "Oh, I hope that's okay, right? There's no copyright
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
infringement." Like she's like, "I didn't mean anything bad by it. I did it because I love
Yeah.
you, you know." And I just love the little things like that. It's just so cool
Yeah.
on there. So all right, so we're through what we loved, what we didn't like, and then of course that always leads us to our mid-credit scene. And this movie only has one, which is kind of interesting. Most Marvel movies have a mid and a post, but we only got the one here in the middle. And it's a very interesting scene, definitely very much. At the end of the Marvels, Darben kind of opens another portal, but this time it's to another universe, right? We're having kind of an incursion kind of thing, kind of like we saw at the end of Multiverse of Madness. And
Yeah.
that's where Photon flies into it all powered up, and she actually goes to the other side and says, "I have to shut it from this side." Don't know why she couldn't have shut it from the other side, but you know, hey.
Sure.
And
Happens.
because of plot.
Yeah.
And she's forcing it closed, and you know, Carol realizes what she's doing and she's like, "No," and she tries to get out to save her and she can't. And the portal does close, and we at the as far as the end of the movie goes, we've lost Monica at this point, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
will we ever see her again? We don't know. She's in another universe. She's trapped on the other side. So the mid-credit scene has her awaking in a hospital bed, looks over, sees what we think is her mom, right? Like Maria, and she's like, "Mom," and then she's like, "Why are you calling me that?" And then we hear a voice, and it is Kelsey Grammer's Beast walking into frame, and he is the Beast straight out of the animated series. Like it, the way they
Straight
did
up.
him
So
was
good.
straight out of the 90s animated series. So same Kelsey Grammer from X-Men The Last Stand, but a little different for this new Marvel universe. And then Maria is like, you know, "Hey, we're just taking care of you. I don't know who you are." Gets up, her jacket kind of comes down, and she's in her own suit. They mention Charles at one point. There's the big X door in the background.
Yep.
And it looks like Maria is binary
Mhm.
from the X-Men comics. So interesting scene here. As we know, we're in another universe, but we're in a universe with the X-Men, and that's kind of where we just leave off, right?
Yeah.
um an interesting scene to go with. So like I said, this was kind of spoiled for me a couple weeks prior because a lot of rumors started coming out saying Kelsey Grammer is going to pop up in this thing as Beast. And when you hear it in that context, you're just like, the fuck he is? Like, why would that happen? Like,
Right.
of all the characters, we're saying Kelsey Grammer's Beast is going to pop up in this? Like, that makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really stated that it was in the post credits. They made it sound like it was just part of the movie. And it's like, why the fuck would Hank McCoy pop up, right? Like it just didn't quite make sense unless it was like a Hank that wasn't mutated or something like that, and they tried to play that into it, right?
Yeah.
So seeing it play out though, it was really cool. I mean, Kelsey Grammer's got a great voice for Beast,
Amazing.
so
Yeah.
it really works. The binary thing threw me off because I have zero knowledge of this character. So I'm looking at
Mhm.
her suit and I'm like, what the hell is she wearing? Who is this? Because I thought she was gonna be Storm when she
Same.
got up. I was like, oh
I
my
was
god,
gonna
they're
be
totally gonna
angry.
go Storm.
I thought it
I
was gonna
hope
be
I would have
Storm.
probably been angry too that they tried to play it like, oh, this other version of Maria is Storm, you know.
Yeah.
But so I do like that they kind of went with a little bit more obscure character to kind of make it make sense. But it was definitely a WTF moment again, because I think everybody in our theater was like, who the fuck is that? Like it just
Yeah.
kind of created like a, we know Beast, but what is this symbol on her thing? And then we looked at
Mhm.
a close-up picture of her and we noticed she's wearing the bangle, which is kind of interesting too to see, like,
Oh,
you
I
know,
don't
is
think I
that
caught that.
why?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't catch it at first either until I saw the close up of her suit, and then she's got the bangle on. I think only one in the
I thought she had
picture, and
both.
then
I'll have to double
did she have
check.
both on? She might have
I
had both
thought it
on.
was
Yeah, I
both.
think actually she did have both. I think you're right. I
I'm
think
gonna
she
look
does
it
have
up
both
right now.
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do kind of like that because that could be again the entanglement thing of like, okay, the thing closed, but that's how they found her because you know of the quantum bands, because
Yeah,
that
it's
could be
both.
something in every universe. Yeah, it is both. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I like that kind of brought them together, right? It brings back the whole like, oh, our light powers are kind of linked, you know, kind of thing. If she's using
Yeah.
the bangle for her powers in this universe, right? Um, but yeah, so very interesting. Where do we go from here? What is the setup for this? I feel like this is a tease for Secret Wars that I don't see where else
Sure.
it fits in kind of outside of this,
Yeah.
because obviously this is not the X-Men we're going to be getting, but you know, to kind of have some fun with it and kind of you know, if we need to fight a bigger threat and Monica comes back with the X-Men to help her out,
Yeah.
you never know. Like it could be really interesting. So you know, curious to see what your guys' thoughts are as obviously big X-Men fans having this pop up. I know you mentioned Peeps kind of earlier that was like your overall big standout moment of the whole damn movie. So I'll start with you. Just kind of tell me, like, this pops up on screen. Did you have any inkling? And how'd you feel kind of coming out of it?
So I was 100% spoiled with the Kate Bishop piece. I was scrolling earlier and I saw a person talking about it, like no spoilers. I was like, cool. But I don't know what the app I was using. On the very bottom, there's a search thing that said Kate Bishop post credits.
Oh,
I'm like, wonderful, thank you. But and then this one, I had even seen, I saw a couple videos of people, like old Kelsey Grammer interviews and old shots of Kelsey Grammer as Beast. I'm like, been seeing a lot of this, but it didn't click until that moment, obviously.
yeah.
But man, dude, like, thing I always talk about on my show, the People's Forum, is how excited I am for the X-Men. X-Men is my jam. That's what got me into Marvel, is collecting the cards, and most of the cards back then, like, from what I can remember, were like X-Men cards. And then from the cartoon, and that's what got me into this. So super excited about it. When I saw this, I'm like, no, they didn't. No, and he looks so good. I don't know if they spent 5 minutes on that or if they spent, 5 years on working on it. I can't even tell you. Like, in my head right now, it just looks like Avatar, like gorgeousness. I don't know. It looked amazing. Hearing his voice, hearing him just talk about Charles, like, we get so excited over the stupidest X-Men nods, don't we? Like, even when they, like, for me, when they said, "Oh, there's something mutant in your DNA," I'm like, oing, oing. So excited about that. And then for us to actually get a very well-known, amazing-looking X-Man on screen, I loved it so much. Now, it's got me thinking, what could they do in the future? And I'll throw this out there, and sorry if I'm gonna take up any of your time, Frigginz, but, like, I'm thinking, like, what if they already understand, like, multiversal travel, and the core X-Men group from that world comes to the MCU to be like, what's going on over here? And, like, with that, and then them seeing, like, there is no, there's no Charles, there's no school, there's no anything, they can kind of start all that. They can start the whole mutant school or whatever. And then, I don't know, maybe, maybe we're going to actually get a Charles when we're in our, like, 60s or something like that. I don't know. But I don't know, they could start something by bringing that group of X-Men to the what is now MCU, and then just build from there. I don't know.
Well, if Secret Invasion doesn't erase, then they would be alien essentially, and they're saying no aliens, which is kind of like saying no mutants. So it actually might kind of flow according to your little theory there.
But Scarlet Witch has to say that. She's dead.
No.
Hold on, let me check the book.
Just check.
Oh, the planet says no aliens.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The Earthlings are saying we don't like aliens or whatever.
You can move on. No.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. What'd you think, Frigginz?
I thought it was at first I was speechless. I was just kind of like, oh my goodness, like I like what Peeps was saying when I saw Beast looking like the animated series and the comics of the 90s. I was like leaning forward in my seat and I was just like, oh my god, like this is no way. And then when I saw Binary, I was like the brakes went, or like my whole excitement just like stopped, and I was like, wait, what? And it's because I didn't like, why Binary? Look, Lashana Lynch is amazing. Like when she's just standing there, I was just like, whoa, she has like screen presence galore. Like when she's on screen, you're paying
I was gonna
attention.
say that, yeah.
And but I'm just like, why binary? And the more I thought about it, the more it makes me worry. You know, we keep talking about how excited we are for X-Men because they're amazing and our favorites.
No. Why binary? It makes sense. Like if she has the same types of powers that, you know what I mean? Like that's how they would have found her.
I get that. My point though is that one of my struggles with Marvel of recent is that they continue to do these things with these characters that are like not favorite characters. If you look
Not
at
Fred's favorite character.
no, in general, I think there's a Don just said it. He said the whole theater was like, "Who is this?" Nobody knew who Binary was. You had to look it up.
But nobody knew who the Guardians were either, and we love them.
And that's the risk, is like you can take something like the Guardians and then make them a favorite if it all goes right. But the thing is, more recently, they've been trying the obscure characters, and then those obscure characters have even obscurer B and C characters within each one. And so they're
I don't think that's going to be the issue here. I think
I am concerned with that. And
the more I think about it, the more I think they went with a very obscure character just because it was Lashana Lynch, and they're just like, we need something for her to be because she's not going to be in the main X-Men when we bring them in, and we don't want to waste her to make her Storm or make her, you know, a Jean Grey or like somebody else that we're going to be like, what, and try to associate her with that character. It's like, so let's make her somebody that most of the audience isn't going to be familiar with.
Well, the other thing though is
power based. You know,
we've also had a series in a movie rather in Doctor Strange where there was this other version of Charles and this other version of Reed Richards, and she was the Captain Marvel there. So you know, this universe doesn't necessarily have to be the X-Men we get, and so that gives me some comfort.
I don't think it will be.
Yeah. But I like Lashana Lynch. They need to use her. She's just like I said, when she's on the screen, and you're like, "Whoa, who's that?"
Yeah, I'm glad that they used her again for something else, and I hope that maybe even just her and Monica come back and come through, just so they have a reason to throw her back into the MCU. I think that would be fun. Cool. That would be cool. And I don't know. Like I said, it's not concerning that they use her as an obscure character because, I don't know. It makes sense in terms of this storyline. I mean, if this was any other different scenario where they're like, "Hey, X-Men, it's going to be binary," and Adam Steve and Leaf guy, like, that would be, I don't know, maybe a little, but it was Beast.
Beast was awesome,
and I do like that idea because that does make it an option that if she comes back with Monica and then stays in our universe, right? Like it's binary. Like she's not gonna. It's not like, well, damn, now we can't have binary on our 616 X-Men. It's like because we have her. Like we can't have two. Like so, it's like so let's make her a character that doesn't matter if she stays. So that could be a way to bring her back into the fold. So I like that. Yeah,
I like that.
That's definitely interesting. So this is where we're going to talk about. So the box office here, man. This is where, like I said, like save your thoughts on kind of the what happened, right? Because Marvel's came out last week, so it's first opening weekend. And I remember when pre-sale tickets went on sale, they were like, they're not doing super hot, like, you know, now people not buying them up like they did for Multiverse of Madness and all these other Marvel movies, you know, that were like hundreds of millions of dollars was spent in pre-sales. And I remember like the early estimates being like 80 mil, right? It was like, 80 mil opening weekend based on the estimates. And I'm being like, the whole time I'm like, there's no fucking way. There's no way it only makes 80 million. It's a Marvel movie. I mean, even though Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania dropped off pretty quick, it's still open to like $120 million, like in its first weekend, right? Like people went out and saw it, and that was an Ant-Man movie, like which have always, the first two, I don't even think cracked 100 mil in their opening weekends, you know? So you've always seen that kind of plus up. And then speaking of box office too, Captain Marvel made over $1 billion. So it's like, okay, this is a sequel to a $1 billion movie. There's just no way it's only going to make 80 mil in its opening weekend. Well,
It didn't.
It didn't even make 50. It made $47 million in its opening weekend. 47 million. And then this weekend, we are recording here on a Sunday. It is November the 19th. So today's estimates have come out. And in its second week, it has already taken a 79% drop and only
Dang.
made $10 million. $10 million in its second weekend.
Oof.
So the movie in its full run here in the United States in 2 weeks is at like 65 mil,
I
which is
remember
insane.
you talking about the drop from Friday Night at Freddy's and how drastic that was, and then to see this
Yes,
drop
and that was less
79%.
than this.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, we were
Jeez.
just talking a couple weeks ago about the drop of Five Nights at Freddy's, which was about 74%
I think you said
or
76,
something
right?
like that.
Yeah.
75, 76%, and that was like unheard of. And it was like, damn, well, everybody saw it that first weekend, right? Because they did have a big weekend, and that's what's crazy. Let's keep that movie in mind. Five Nights at Freddy's that just came out a couple weeks ago made $80 million in its opening weekend. 80
Crazy.
million.
Crazy.
The Marvels made 47 million. It didn't even make what Five Nights at Freddy's fucking made.
That makes
insane.
sense to me. That makes sense to me,
What?
though.
That makes
That
no
does.
sense.
What?
It does.
How? No
My
Marvel
kids
movie has done this bad.
love Five Nights at Freddy's. My kids love it. They love the idea. My son won't stop talking about. He wants me to buy him all the Five Nights at Freddy's things. She's 16-year-old. She's 16 years old now. But when she was growing up, on the internet, they have so many like fan fiction and storylines of Five Nights at Freddy's and why, and like the relationships between the animatronic characters. There's so much like fan lore that goes into that, and my kids love it, and they want to be scared and all that. Like that was their like most anticipated movie of the year. And you want to know why it didn't do that well? Because they advertised it. You want to watch it online? You can.
Yeah,
like it like day of,
but it
Paramount
beat the Marvels.
or-
It was like
Yes,
way more.
it did amazing. What are you talking about? Didn't do well. It did fantastic.
No, it would have
Like,
done more gooder. I think
That's probably.
I don't think it would have done more. No, I don't agree at all. Because
Yeah.
the problem is that there's not a ton of subscribers on Peacock, number one. So that's your out right there. Like it's not like when you rank all the streaming services, Peacock's at the bottom.
Yeah,
like,
they're gonna do
there's
the
only,
free
like,
trial. Yeah, and then they're out.
Yeah,
dude, I'm telling you, like people went to the theater to see this, that's why it made so much money, because even with its big 75 million 75% drop in week 2, the damn movie still made another 20 mil and has made way more than the Marvels, because yes, it does have a massive fan base. So I'm not doubting how Five Nights at Freddy's did so well. The thing is just looking at such a little low budget horror movie and getting and smashing a $200 million, Marvel movie, which is just insane to me, So, and then to see this drop, because honestly, I looked at the daily box office and it looked like it was actually making more money throughout the week. Like it had gone up like $1 million or $2 million. Like, from Monday it made, 3 million, and then on Tuesday it made 5 million, and Wednesday it made 8 million. So it was looking like it was making more as the week went on, and it was like, okay, maybe word of mouth, it's gonna level, in its second week or maintain, we'll see where it goes. And then to see a 79% drop and only make 10 mil, this movie might not cross $100 million domestically, which is insane when all these other Marvel movies have opened to over 100 million just in their first weekend, let alone their full theatrical run, so it's crazy. And that's why I say, what happened? And Peeps, you started to hint at it. Yes, the Marvels came out literally the end of a strike. Like there's been zero promotion. Stars have not been able to go out and say, my movie's coming out, go see it, and they haven't been able to do the press circuits, right? They haven't been able to go on Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and go on these shows and be like, hey, let's show a clip, and then this is this, and the movie was great, you should go see it. Nothing, because of the strike, and then like you said, COVID, and it's been pushed back a couple times. This movie was supposed to come out, in
July,
2020. Right? Well, yeah, but originally it was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah, July.
And then it got bumped when everything kind of bumped, and then it was July of this year. Then it got bumped to November. And it was just, because there was talks of bumping it again because of the strike, and then they just said, "Fuck it, let's just put it out because we've already bumped everything else." So
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors here, but that's where I was saying earlier in the show that it's not just this movie. When we look and I know we've said a lot with DC, right? Like, I mean, when we look at the movies, all the comic book movies this year, take out Guardians 3, which did very, very well. Ant-Man failed, Blue Beetle failed, The Flash failed, Shazam 2 failed. All these movies flopped. And that's crazy to say because a lot of them are sequels. A lot of them are following up on big things. I mean, who would have said a Flash movie wasn't going to make $100 million? You know what I mean? That, Blue Beetle was always something that it was like, well, we got to see because it's kind of more of an unknown character, see how it plays out. But all these movies, like Shazam, the first Shazam movie made, over $400 million. The second one made like 130, like total worldwide.
Yeah.
Like, such drops and these were, I enjoyed all of these movies. I mean, even you go back to Black Adam, Black Adam underperformed, and that was the biggest DC release in the last year and a half. So there's a bigger picture here that where a lot of people throw out superhero fatigue, and they'll throw out streaming habits, and just people don't go to the theater as often, and it just, I think, like, there's a lot that kind of hit here. Marvel's definitely going to be going through some things. I think they just talked about revamping a lot of the Disney Plus stuff and changing their style with showrunners and everything. Like, they just dumped all of everything they filmed for Daredevil and started over fresh because they didn't like where it was going, and the early word. And there's
Same
only
thing for
one Marvel
Captain
movie
America.
coming out next year.
Did
Yeah,
you hear they
Captain
did that?
America: Brave New World
Yeah.
pushed back a year because supposedly the test screenings were not so good and they
Yeah.
needed to cut some scenes and redo them. Like I said, next year we're only getting one Marvel movie, which is insane. Like one MCU proper movie. We'll get some other Sony stuff. But like, I mean, that's crazy. Like, usually we get 3 to 4 movies a year. We're getting one.
Hey,
So
I'm actually okay with that because, like, of the one we're gonna get, we're getting freaking Deadpool, man. Like, and that's the thing.
That's
Is
the
like,
exciting part.
if you go back, Iron Man was by itself, Thor was by itself, Captain America was by itself, Avengers was by itself, I think. And like, maybe now is where we get back to, like, let's spend time and put a lot of effort into a movie and make it stellar, and we can get back to where it was. Even 2 a year is probably doable, as opposed to this like 3 to 4, which was great when you look at it numerically, but like, as far as quantity or quality rather, that's where we started to see some of the drops. So like, I'm actually kind of okay that if they put all their efforts into Deadpool and to make sure that that movie comes out perfect, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the delays is due to the strikes, right? Like, because
Yeah.
those movies were supposed to have started filming and they all got delayed, and
Right.
now Hollywood is backlogged because everybody needs to start filming, so they can't get cast, they can't get crews, everybody has to do other projects, so everything's just
Everyone's
snowballing
filming
down.
at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the poor lighting guy that's
Hey,
on
you
one
need an
movie
extra
running across
guy,
cliff
like
to the other one. I know, right?
There's that Disney
Like,
Dome
it's a lot of
studio.
catch up.
There's just a line going around the door.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know, man.
Frigginz,
Like,
what do you think? What do you think happened? What's the overall? I'll roll to you in a sec, Peeps. I want to just what do you think? Like, do you think there's anything specific? You think it's just a mix of things? Like I said, like, kind of like, how does a movie? This is the lowest of the MCU, and the movie I don't think deserves it. Why only 47 million?
I don't want to. I have a hard time reasonably considering that the strike had that much of an impact onto the turnout. I think the turnout was kind of like they were already worried about it with the pushing and they're delaying all this time. Usually you see that with the movies that they're like really concerned with. There's so many other factors though that it's so hard to gauge coming out of COVID and all these things. I don't know that we'll ever really know, but I can't tell you if there's ever been a time where some celebrity saying to go watch this movie has impacted me or impacted someone that I have ever heard talk about like, I only went to watch this movie because Brad Pitt said it was going to be good. But then again, like the people that I usually talk about are typically going viewers, so we're gonna go anyway. So that's hard to say. I just can't. I keep coming back to what my experience was, and I feel like there's got to be, and I think the numbers show it, a lot of people that had that same feeling that I did, and that disappointment in the trailer and the lack of excitement for the character given what we've been given in the past. I think that that's a really big combination that, while it might not speak for the whole answer, I think it's a big chunk of it, honestly. And, again, my nerdism forced me to buy the ticket, but I think those that don't have that desire and don't have a podcast to do probably didn't go buy the ticket, and they're like, yeah, I'll just wait till Disney Plus. So honestly, I think that is a huge factor that is getting overlooked because the strike is getting too much light, and I don't know how much that really has an impact. I really just think it was more of a lackluster character, and when I say that, I like the character, but I'm saying like the general public doesn't really care for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, but again, like I said, like the first movie made over $1 billion.
Yeah, but that's
like
coming off the
crazy.
Endgame
This
high.
is pretty it
Or
wasn't though. It was
Infinity
before
War.
Endgame.
Infinity War, right?
Yeah. But I don't think you can really. I've seen that debunked, because when you compare like box office to some of the other movies after Endgame, like it's not like,
but also
or movies that came out in between, right? Like, because Ant-Man and the Wasp came out between Infinity War and Endgame as well, and did not make $1 billion.
But
so Captain Marvel had a big push and had a big following, and a lot of people supported it.
We'd never seen Captain Marvel before, and that was like an excitement to see the strong female character. So maybe that impact, like people were thinking they were getting a Wonder Woman, you know what I mean? But like in this instance, we saw that movie. I think generally most people have that relatively low on their lists. Obviously, I'm sure there's some out there that have a high, but I think most people you talk to didn't necessarily love that one as much. So I feel like you have this less liked character, this less appealing looking kind of trailer maybe, and you have this kind of like snowball that just kind of led into that. I mean, that's the only thing I can really think of. Again, I think the real answer is it's just a combination of a shitload of stuff, but I think that is definitely a high factor.
Peeps.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's tough, right? I'm no film analyst, so everything I say, it could be debunked, I'm sure. But the way I look at it, as Frigginz said, something that really stuck to me. He said there's never been like a celebrity, I guess, pushing a movie that has ever made him want to watch the movie. He has, if he wants to watch the movie, he'll go watch it. Brie Larson talking about the Marvels has never made him be like, wow, I really want to see this movie. I get that. But I think that something is happening in our culture now with social media, that people, they're not necessarily listening to celebrities, but they're listening to like influencers a lot. And if an influencer is saying that this movie is trash, don't waste your time, it's just pandering, woke, those obnoxious words that I hear, like this movie is just MCU hit strikes again, here we go, and I see a lot of that. And I know Frigginz, you're on Twitter X more, and I've been frequenting the TikTok probably more than a 40-year-old should. So, but even on that, obviously Marvel is in my algorithm, and like it is a lot of negative commentary about this movie, about don't waste your time, and I think that plays along with people like going to see it. On top of that, streaming. I think I know people that used to go and watch the movies. They're like, I'll see it eventually, but I'll go to the movies and check it out. And now they're like, I'll just wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. They're going to release it in a couple months anyways. I've got, I'll watch it then. And I think that hurts the box office. That is something that has never been a thing before. And yes, I know we have movies like Guardians and and Avatar and Top Gun and other movies out there that are really proving that wrong. But those, you can't really compare those movies to
They're
like
niche.
Captain
Yeah.
Marvel 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like those are, and when you think about budgets as well, like the budget for this film is higher than the first Avatar movie. It makes me say, where'd the budget go? Like, is that just star power? Is it
It's just
special
that's just
effects?
increased increased budgets in general. It's like
Yeah,
going to the
man.
grocery store and the things
Yeah,
that you used to buy for 50 is 150 now. I think
sure.
cost is
Well,
just,
I mean, but what if, I haven't seen it. I've heard nothing but good things about that newer, the Creator, I think it's called.
yeah,
Is that what it is? That has a
yeah,
relatively low budget, but that
yeah.
is like a very good movie
It
from
looks
what I
really good.
understand.
Yeah,
And
and it's visually looks really, really well, and I think they made it for 80 million, and
yeah,
it does not look like an $80 million film. It looks way better.
exactly. And same with Deadpool. Like they squeeze a lot out of a little budget, and that's, I
Mm.
guess, what sucks about this movie is that so much money was put out there. Financially, it's going to be looked at the same as what was that other movie that you and I liked that Disney was never going to make enough? John Carter. You
Oh,
know,
John Carter, yeah,
God, it's like such a good movie, but it didn't do that well. So
yeah.
it sucks, man. There's a lot of things I think that will fall into this, but same as Shazam, same as Blue Beetle. I don't understand why people aren't going to see this. Maybe people are just over like smaller movies like this, and they just want to wait for the I don't know, the next big Superman movie or the next big Batman movie or the next big Avengers movie. I mean, literally, Guardians is like an Avengers movie. It is, so that makes sense why that was so successful. You would just
Well,
think,
and
I
we knew
guess,
that was gonna be the way they marketed that one too is the last time we're seeing this group together. It was James Gunn's
exactly.
send-off. It's
Hmm.
the third movie,
Final movie. Yeah.
so yeah, I think it had a different pull than some of these other movies, but but again, it's weird, Shazam 2, for example, just first movie really, really loved. Everybody loved that movie, super
It's
highly
great.
ranked, critics and audience. You finally get a sequel and just nobody went to see it. It made like
Yeah.
30 mil opening weekend. Like, why? Like, there was a fun fucking movie too. Like, what changed? Like, so it's like, why didn't all the people that went and saw and loved that first one came back? And that's the kind of thing is when you look statistically at this movie, what's standing out is the fact that that first one made $1 billion.
Yeah.
This is the biggest kind of drop off from a part one to a part two, like pretty much of all time. Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
that when you look at that difference, like I said, that they're saying that this movie might not finish its theatrical run, even making as much as Captain Marvel did in its first weekend. Like
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
insane. That is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, and
You
I
know?
I think that what probably, and I hate to agree with Frigginz on this, even though I do agree with him on a lot of things, but I don't think Marvel needs to go back to the drawing board and just not release movies for a couple years to get us excited for it, because
Yeah.
it's they when Marvel wanted to go to the Disney Plus route, they were like quality or quantity over quality, and they're overworking their people like fucking crazy, throwing out TV shows, throwing out movies, and none of it really, like, it didn't feel like it. And I think that in their rush to just get products out there, like we felt that as consumers.
Mhm.
And the Marvels, as good as a movie as it is, like, no one asked for it. Where, yes, we wanted another Thor movie and we wanted another Iron Man movie, and then an Ant-Man movie. We really don't want this, but then it comes out, and I swear, I bet you everybody is like, go see this goddamn movie. It's really good, and I didn't want an Ant-Man movie, but I was like, let me watch it. And I love that movie. And I think I took other people to see that movie. So, yeah, but then again, Quantumania didn't do all that well. So, I don't know. It's rough. It's a weird state, I think, that we're in. Social media and streaming. Yeah, it's hopefully that retreat that the Disney executives were out on, where they're able to figure everything out on, on
Yeah.
still kind of riding in their little lagoon or whatever that is, the lazy beach or the lazy river. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be one of these mysteries, man. We'll have to see how it continues to play out as we continue. Now I think superhero movies for the last decade have been very bulletproof. And this is the first year where a lot have gone down. They've gone down hard. So,
And some
next
kryptonite,
year, I mean, next year like you said, we only have Deadpool 3, and then Sony's going to be releasing like Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter, and then we're getting Venom 3. So, let's see how they do. Like, how are they going to stack up? Is this good trend going to continue? Like, do we need to take like a big break and then come back strong? Like, hopefully Marvel is revamping some stuff, and and that this is just a hiccup, and they'll bounce back. I do hope that this doesn't hinder getting these characters back for future things. I would love to see all three of them and the next Avengers movie, and kind of to go forward with I hope this doesn't like pivot any of their plans. But let's transition here. Final thoughts, scores as we wrap this up, and then we'll get to our MCU updated countdown here to wrap up the show. Overall, like I said, I think it's a blast. I really implore anybody that hasn't seen it and has maybe just looked at that social media stuff like Peeps was talking about, and it's deterred them, to give it a chance. I think it is worth it. I think this is not the movie that a lot of people are making it out to be, and I think it deserves better. I have a real life example. I was at my daughter's birthday party yesterday, and one of the parents was there, who loves Marvel. She had an Avengers phone case on her phone, and I was like, "Hey, I like your phone case," and we just started talking about Marvel while the kids were bowling. And she said, my wife had told her like, "Hey, did you go see the Marvels yet?" And she's like, "No, I didn't, because I hear it sucks." And that was her thing, right? She just was like, "Nope, I'm not going to see it because people are telling me it's bad." And then me and my wife are like, "No, it's really good. It's fun. You should go see it. Like, if you like all the other movies, I think you're gonna like this one."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh shit, I'll go check it out." But that was exactly that sticks in my head now, is like, that's what I think a majority of people are doing, right? They're hearing from other people like, "Oh, it's not that good. It's woke.
Yeah.
It's this. It's that, and it's not worth it. Wait for streaming, whatever." And then that's what's hurting it at the box office. Because, like I said, and I'm being 100% honest, like when I go through my Twitter feed, my algorithm is a lot of comic book shit too, and it is mostly people saying, "I don't get the hate. Like, this was a fun movie. I had a blast with it." And I've seen a bunch of people say, "I saw it a second time. I saw it a third time," like really loving it, and also saying, "I liked it more each time I saw it." Right. Like, and that's one of those things too. I think this movie does have replay value. So I just implore anybody that's hesitant or standoffish about it, that they're like, "I don't know." This does have an 85% audience rating. Like, that's really damn high for a movie, right? And it's still certified fresh, even on the critic rating, right? And it's at a 62% right now. It's on the lower end from fresh, but still fresh. At the end of the day, it's got a tomato. Like, so and 85% on the audience side. So I think it's worth it. I think it's a fun time. If you want to laugh, if you want to see some cool action and some really cool female leads, like I think you will enjoy it. Go in with an
Yeah.
open mind, go in with your low expectations, and I think they will surprise you like they did Frigginz. And at the end of the day, so for me, and like I said, and this is also like based on how the family liked it and our kind of coming out of it and our excitement. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really, really awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I think you will too. So make sure you check it out. So, Frigginz, where you at? What's your final thoughts and your score?
Well, like I said earlier, I went in not even wanting to watch it really, and ended up having a fun time. I think it's good. It's not great, but it was fun. I think if you see it, you'll have a good time. I definitely agree with what Don was saying, where the people that are out there saying that it absolutely sucks, like I don't know what they're looking for in this. Turn your brain off a little bit, just try and enjoy yourself. Again, you're not getting a blockbuster like blowout movie that you're going to be talking about for the rest of your life, but you're going to have fun and then you're going to laugh. And I think that's one of the biggest aspects. I do not think there's going to be a lot of people that are rushing out the third week to blow up the Marvels and all of a sudden it makes its money back. So with that being said, if you are holding out for Disney Plus, I highly recommend checking out when it does come. Maybe this will be like, Disney Plus's #1 downloaded movie or whatever.
Right?
Hopefully it gets
Yeah.
some kind of like recognition in some other way. Again, it's definitely worth watching. And I think that's my biggest takeaway is, as I said, it's not going to give you something you've never seen before or blow you away, but you're going to have a good time doing it. So check that out. My score is 3 stars out of 5. I laughed. I had a good time.
There you go. Peeps.
Yeah, just echoing a lot of what these guys said. If you're, you want to, hey, it's a weekend, we don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't want to really go to, it's getting a little cold out there, so you can't really go to the water park anymore. Go to the movies, check out the Marvels. Like I would say it's like a family film. Like the kids, I think will have a good time. Like they don't really know what's going on.
Yes.
DX's daughter gave it 10 out of 5 stars. I mean, that right there should let you know if your kids are bothering you and you want them to be, doing their own thing for a couple hours, just take them to see the movie. I don't know, man. It was fun. I took my 2 kids to go see it. I'm a bit of a nerd myself, so yeah, I did spend 30 minutes explaining to them who all they're going to see on screen. Maybe it was 45, who knows? But like all in all, it was a good time. I definitely feel like I got my money's worth, and I feel like most people will as well. Here's the thing too. I will say, in closing, comic book movies have a word in it that a lot of people I think forget: the comic book aspect. And those like Frigginz and myself, and even Geeky Pat, which again his disdain for this movie, I will understand, but comics have an ebb and flow. Sometimes the comics are coming out, they're really good, sometimes they're not. You have different writers, you have different artists, you have different storylines that are sometimes going together and sometimes they're not. This doesn't make sense at all. When this thing happened last week, like it's all over the place, but it's an art that I think a lot of comic book folks are used to. Not like Friggin said earlier, every single one isn't going to be an end game. Everyone's not going to be an Infinity War. Sometimes it's just, a silly Squirrel Girl comic that Fred hates through his core and everyone else on the world loves. And when people say they hate something, again, just understand that film and comic books and art, it's all subjective. Some people will hate it, you might not, and the reasons people are giving, it's not, they're taking some things that they're doing in movies and television, which there isn't it feels like there's some kind of agenda, and they're saying this movie is doing that. It is. I don't feel not one time that this movie is like girls are great and guys suck. We could have done this without any of the boy Avengers. Isn't that right, girls? Screw boys. Let's have a pillow fight. It's
there was no jabs. There was no jabs at guys.
Nothing
at all. It felt, again, fun, as I said a lot. So I'm going to give this, and DX loves it when I do this, but it's going to be a 3.5. Didn't quite get to the 4, which I would consider like exceeded expectations, because there were some elements that took me back, them flarkin cats. But again, awesome. That moment wasn't for me. DX loved it. I was cracking up during the whole moment as well, but I'm just like, why is this happening?
My wife and my daughter loved the Flurkin scene.
Exactly. And that's who it was for. And
especially when they were puking everybody back up. That was the good stuff.
That was a moment that happened. So, but yeah, 3.5 from me on the Marvel.
Awesome. Well, hey, positive stuff all the way around, and that's great to hear. I do want to shout out again the Legends show. For those of you that don't know the show exists, it is on Disney Plus. It's called Marvel Studios Legends. They release new episodes before any new release comes out, whether it's a Disney Plus show or it's a movie, and it always recaps that character's arc throughout the entire MCU, and they do it in under 10 minutes. So it is a great way to show somebody like, hey, this is what this character's done. This is what's leading up to this movie for this TV show. And they, of course, released 3 episodes before the Marvels, one for Carol, one for Kamala, and one for Monica. So it was a great kind of catch you up to speed on what's going on with each of those characters. So it is something really cool to watch. And we always do before everything. They did it for Loki right before the Loki season 2 started. They had one about the TVA, like even things like that they run through. And it's, like I said, it's easy to digest, and it's a nice little refresher to kind of take you back right before you see something you might
Throw
forget
that in the beginning of the movie. I don't know why they don't do that.
I mean, it was only an hour and 45 minutes. They could have threw that episode in before.
They could have on that one. They could have, yes. And funny note on my daughter too, because like I said, when we were watching it, she was in her Halloween outfit, and then when Kamala got her new suit, she was really upset because she's like, now she doesn't match me anymore.
Aww.
She was all bummed out that she changed her suit, because now she's like, I should be her again next year, and I'll get the new suit. So
Yeah,
hopefully there will be a new
cosplay
suit
life, man.
Right,
Cosplay
right
life.
there.
right.
DX
There's always something new. Here we go again.
I want to be the Batman so bad, but by the time I get the suit, it's going to be the number 2, and he'll have a totally different suit.
Totally different.
There's always
Totally
appreciation for the classic costumes
That's
too.
fair,
So
that's fair.
All right, guys. Well, it is that time. We always end every Marvel spoiler review with our updated MCU countdown. Like I said, 33 films. This was the 33rd film. There's homework to do, man. There's homework to do. So this is where we rank them all up. Once again, like Peep said earlier, it is subjective. So nobody's list matches up, and and this is just our take, right? Movies hit us all differently. But I always say too, I like all 33 of these films. So nothing is that I don't like it. It's just the way it falls, right? Somebody's got to be at the bottom, and somebody's got to be at the top at the end of the day. So Frigginz, we'll start with you. Run it down, man. What you got, and let's see where the Marvels falls as the new entry here.
I just noticed that my numbering stops at 32. So how am I missing?
Oh boy.
No, I just needed to scroll down. That's right. One more. So I will say
funny
that
because my 33 lines up perfect.
Of my 33 movies, I agree with what Don said, except for the fact that there's probably 30 of them that I like, and, and there's probably 3 that can stay at the bottom forever. And that starts with number 33 is Iron Man 2. And by the way, I did some rewatching, so you're gonna find some shifts in my list, and I think placement for the Marvels and some downgrades for some of the others might surprise you guys. Again, it always does. 33 is Iron Man 2. 32 is Iron Man 3. 31 is the Eternals. 30 Thor Dark World. 29 29 is the Incredible Hulk. 28 is Ant-Man Quantumania. 27 Captain Marvel, the first one. Number 26 is now Thor Love and Thunder. 25
interesting. That dropped.
It did drop. I rewatched it and I was
Did you rewatch it?
I rewatched it and I was like, what was I thinking?
Damn shame.
Big time.
I heard some screaming goats when you said that right now.
Yeah, exactly. 25 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. 24 is Spider-Man No Way Home. Wait, nope. Far from home. Sorry.
Okay.
All the damn home names.
We're about to kick you out.
And 23 is where the Marvels lands.
Okay.
So then I got 22 Black Widow, 21 Avengers Age of Ultron, 20 Doctor Strange, 19 Thor, 18 Wakanda Forever, 17 Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That takes me to 16 Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, 15 Ant-Man, 14 Guardians Volume 2, 13 No Way Home, 12 Black Panther, 11 Ragnarok, 10 Captain America the First Avenger, 9 Shang-Chi, 8 Avengers, 7 Civil War, 6 Iron Man, 5 Spider-Man Homecoming, and my top 4, still remains the same. Avengers Infinity War 4, Avengers Endgame 3, Captain America the Winter Soldier 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy is my number 1.
Cool.
Okay. All right, peeps. What you got?
Well, you know, my list, I definitely didn't mess up at all anywhere. So, cool. All right. So, number 33, I agree with Frigginz, Iron Man 2. Number 32
Undeserved.
is the
Have you watched it again?
I really got to do that.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
32
It does not deserve to be left.
32 is Thor 1. 31 is Iron Man 3. 30 is the first Captain Marvel movie. 29 is The Incredible Hulk. And 28 will be Where the Marvels Fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yikes.
right above that,
it's funny because you gave it more stars than Fred, but Fred is way
higher.
Yeah, but yeah, Fred doesn't get to 3.5 stars until he hits like Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
Right, but yeah. So and then right after that goes the Eternals. At 27. 26 is Thor 2, Dark World. 25 is Captain America. 24 is Black Widow. 23 is Doctor Strange 1. 22 is Quantumania. 21 is Ragnarok. 20 is Love and Thunder. 19 is, I wrote Avengers 2, which I think is Civil War. No, that's Age of Ultron.
No, that's Age of Ultron.
That's Age of Ultron. 18 is Ant-Man 2. 17 is Spider-Man 2. 16 is the first Ant-Man movie. 15 is Captain America 3, which is Civil War. And 14 is the first Spider-Man, Homecoming. 13 is the first Black Panther. 12 is Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. 11 is Shang-Chi. Top 10. Iron Man, number 10. First Avengers movie, number 9. Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever is number 8. Guardians 2 is number 7. Spider-Man No Way Home is number 6. Top 5 would be Endgame, followed by the first Guardians of the Galaxy, followed by Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as number 3. Then we have Captain America Winter Soldier number 2, and number 1, which will always be Infinity War.
Infinity War.
I'm surprised your volume 3 is so high. I don't remember.
Dude, that movie hit me in so many ways, dude. Yeah.
Nice.
Great movie.
Yeah.
All righty. Going into mine, number 33 is still Captain America, the First Avenger.
Boo.
And followed by 32 is Iron Man 3. Number 31, The Incredible Hulk. Number 30 is Black Widow. Number 29 is Eternals. Number 28 is Thor, The Dark World. 27 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. 26 is Iron Man 2. 25 is the first Thor. Number 24 is Captain Marvel, the original movie. And number 23, I'll match you, Frigginz. That's where I have the Marvels at 23. So
we tied.
Yeah. So when you said that, I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I do like it more than the first Captain Marvel movie, so I slid it in right there, 23. But can't really, even though I enjoyed the movie very, very much, I got to stop there. Because then number 22 is Doctor Strange, number 21 is Ant-Man, number 20 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, number 19 is Black Panther Wakanda Forever, number 18 is Black Panther the original, number 17 Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, number 16 is Shang-Chi, number 15 is Spider-Man Far From Home, number 14 is Iron Man, number 13 is Thor Love and Thunder, number 12 is Spider-Man Homecoming, number 11 is Guardians 2. Number 10 is Guardians 3. And then we have Captain America the Winter Soldier at 9. Spider-Man No Way Home at 8. Thor Ragnarok at 7. The Captain America Civil War at 6. Guardians of the Galaxy, the original, at 5. And then we got our Avengers films. Number 4 is Age of Ultron. Number 3 is the original Avengers. Number 2 is Endgame. And like Peeps, number 1, probably for life, will be Infinity War because it is the greatest movie ever.
So good.
Still makes me mad that Frigginz doesn't have it at the top 2.
It's in the top 4 at least.
He doesn't even have it in top 3. Yeah.
It's in top 4 at least.
Jeez. Deserves so much more. But there you go, guys. That's where we got it. So that's where the Marvel slides in, and that's where everything lands currently in our top 33. And that's just on the movie side, because we'd have probably like 50 things if we included all the Disney Plus stuff as well.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So it'd be a hell of a list. And maybe one day we need to do that. That'll be a whole
episode. That needs a whole episode.
Counting down everything Marvel in the Marvel Cinematic
Oh, we'll add
Universe.
okay, not the Sony movies then. Okay.
No, just MCU, but adding in all the Disney Plus stuff, and the special presentations and all that good stuff there.
Nice.
Right,
So that'll do it, guys. We have ran over 2 hours. We hate to do that to you, but we had to break this down, and then we had a lot more kind of just in the state of the comic book world to kind of talk about as well too. So definitely a lot to get through. So thank you for joining us here on the Am I Still in the Air Marvel spoiler review. There will be an audio version of this up on the podcast feed as well too, if you can't do the video side. But of course, the full video version streaming on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Am I on the Air. So let's go on around and see where everybody can find you. Frigginz, tell them.
Technically, I'm on all kinds of stuff under Frigginz. So you can find me on Threads. You can find me on Twitter or X. You can find me even on TikTok, but you won't actually find me on there. I have it, but I don't ever use it. But the main place you can find me is on Instagram. Actually, not even using Twitter anymore. Just on Instagram. I just kind of lurk in the other places. But Instagram, I'm doing some movie reviews that you can check out. Any movie I see in theater for this year of 2023, I have done a video movie review. I keep those within about, I think the longest one's maybe 6 minutes max, but they're usually around 4 or 5. And I give you a non-spoiler movie review of that with ratings. And sometimes I throw in a little after credit scene stuff there too. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, that's at Frigginz, Frigginz. Again, that's Frigginz with a Z.
There you go. Peeps, tell them.
I don't know if I've mentioned it at all in this episode, but I have a podcast called The People's Forum. It's with 2 E's on People's. And I love talking about this Marvel stuff. I do that. Sometimes I'll have Frigginz on there. I haven't had DX on there in a while, so maybe one day he'll return my phone calls. I don't know, but
maybe one day he'll invite me.
Yeah. I haven't been on in a while either. Just saying.
Again, yeah,
True.
You're doing big things now with your thing, and I'm like, hey, please, that guy. No, I'm bad. But people, my that's my podcast. I'm on the Twitters, for my peoples, number 4 my peoples on Twitter. Like Friggin's TikTok, I also have an Instagram for the People's Forum that hasn't been active that often. So that is a thing. And go Cubs.
What city is the Cubs with, Sean?
You knew.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
One of the news. It's a new city.
Oh my god.
It's a new city.
New Chicago. Got it.
Chicago.
How about you,
guys?
Don?
You could always follow us. Yeah, thank you. You could always follow us here at Am I on the Air, all one word, and that's across all socials, as you can see there at the bottom, across all your favorite podcast platforms. We are on Instagram as well. We're on Threads. We do TikToks as well, so we do post on TikTok, and that is my favorite place to put out our video reviews and stuff. We do quick thought movie clips that are under a minute long, so get in, get out, and see if it's worth watching. So check it out there. But yeah, all the socials here, it's simply Am I on the Air? And if you'd like to follow me directly as well, it is also at DONMEGA. And the podcast, of course, our main podcast feed, Am I on the Air.com, airs every Tuesday, and you can get caught up with all the latest and the greatest in entertainment news and television, movies, and of course, non-spoiler reviews, because you got to come here for the spoiler side of it. So thanks again to Peeps and Frigginz for joining me here tonight. Let's not make it 4 months again. Until we do the next one. We, of course, next month is December already.
Aquaman.
So it's going to be time to start getting ready with our, not only Aquaman review, but then we're going to be talking about 2023 as a whole, our favorite films, our most anticipated. That's all within reach.
That coming
and those
up?
are always the fun ones
That's
to
my
do.
favorite
So yeah,
episode to
man.
do.
So yeah, they are super fun to kind of look back on the year, see what we thought we were anticipating and how it played out and compared to what we got, and then what we're looking forward to next year. It's gonna be interesting next year because a lot of shuffling's going on out there,
And if I don't
hopefully
get one get the fuck out of here, then I failed.
Yep, he's on a roll, so we'll see. He'll do it again. But that'll do it for us here tonight. Thanks everybody for watching live. Thanks for you that streamed it afterwards, and we'll see you next time, y'all. Till next time, peace.
Later.
Deuces.